Chair.
Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, October 26th edition of the Board of Selectmen, Highway Commissioners, and Cemetery Commissioners meeting. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Sullivan,
Sir.
you have numbers? No?
Yes, I didn't run the numbers, Mr. Chair, but I just ask everyone for a moment of silence. Would be over 200,000 deaths in America, over 8 million positive cases, and we send out our thoughts and prayers to those who are recovering. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Ruda, we are going into executive session to return. Is that correct? Are we doing that now?
That's correct. We're going to just ask, go in with the highway superintendent relative to his contract, and we'll come back out. It'll
Excellent.
be 10 minutes or less.
Okay, excellent. The chair will accept the motion to go into executive session.
Motion made.
Second.
Mr. Ruda, do you need us to read this, or are we good with just that?
Let's read it for the record.
Would you mind reading that, Mr. Sullivan?
Going into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21, Subsection 8, 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining session or contract negotiation with non-union personnel, and we will convene back into public session involving the highway superintendent, and I do declare.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Oh, we do a roll? Yeah, roll call. Sorry.
Stephen Sullivan, aye.
John Marcy, aye. Jay Johnson, aye.
Gary Siganovich, aye. We'll be back shortly. Thank you. And we're back. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything to bring up on the consent agenda?
Probably pull out the appointment.
Pull out the appointment?
Do it separately.
Yeah,
Okay.
and talk about it.
Okay.
Recognize that the new student selectmen maybe asked to
Yeah,
We'll
that's
give
why
a
it
little
should, that's why
background.
it shouldn't be in the consent agenda, right?
Great. Anything else?
Good.
Okay. So, would you like to,
Move to
Miss-
accept the consent agenda, accept the appointment of student rep.
Second.
motion and a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, appointment for student rep from Shepherd Hill for 2020-2021, Colin Humphries. Mr. Humphries?
Good evening, everybody. I am honored to have been given this position by Principal Chaplain and the board, and I'm really excited to be able to work for my school and for the community in this great role.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Colin.
Oh. My name is Colin Humphries. I am a senior at Shepherd Hill Regional High School. For 3 years prior to this, I ran track and cross country. I've been involved in a lot of things there. I actually ran for class president once and for class vice president once. And actually just today, I announced that I'm running for class president in our elections, which in a few weeks. So I've been involved in the student, never gotten elected, but I've been involved in the student government there. And yeah, I mean, that's basically my life.
Enjoy it while you can.
Exactly.
I just want to say, Mr. Chair, he's got some big shoes to fill. We had a excellent student rep last year. All of them have been very well, have been outstanding. You've got some big shoes to fill.
Mhm.
And Mr. Joseph isn't here, but he likes sports, so, and he likes accuracy. So let that be a,
He might ask you about your hobbies.
I might ask you about your hobbies.
Welcome aboard. You know, it's good to have a fresh set of eyes on some of these questions. We start to get a little bit of blinders on, so reminds us, you know, to look at things a little bit differently. So, welcome.
Thank you so much, and I hope I can, in whatever capacity possible, help give you guys just a little look into what's going on at Shepherd Hill and what my perspective as a student is.
That's what we want.
Excellent, Mr. Marcy.
Yeah, you know, Colin, welcome. You know, it's good, it'll be good to have your perspective, you know, once we're many years removed from high school, and just knowing what's going on there, and just keeping us up to date on the day-to-day stuff that we might not hear. Colin's in the same class as my son Anthony, so I've known Colin throughout the years. He'll be a strong addition to our team.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Motion?
Motion. Yes.
I screwed it up last year, so I'm ready to go.
That was a
Yeah, you
reappointment.
did.
That was a reappointment, too.
Make a motion to accept the appointment of the student rep from Shepherd Hill for the 2020-2021 year, Colin Humphries.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Welcome aboard, Colin.
Thanks, Colin.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next up under old business, we have Dma Holdings Llc. update.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for having us back. We put together a presentation ultimately to show you all the progress that has happened with this project since the last time we were here, I believe back in January. I did give Mr. Ruda hard copies of the presentation. I'm not sure if you guys have them at this point, but you should have enough for the entire board. Ultimately, we'll go through the presentation and our proposal of how things would hopefully move forward, and then we'll answer any questions that the board may have. At this point, I would like to introduce Joe Velatico, one of the co-CEOs of this project.
Gentlemen, do you mind if I take this down, or?
As long as you stay at the podium,
All
that's
good.
fine.
Well, first off, thank you guys. Appreciate your time. About a year ago, we were here in this position, and we have gained a lot of traction since then. Tonight, I'm just going to do a quick introduction about my team. You guys know me. I want you to really get to know my team and have them kind of break down where we're at with everything today. So myself, co-CEO of the company, along with David Lahar, who's also acting as CFO currently right now, Rhett Jordan, Malcolm Beers, and Jason Velatico. Rhett Jordan is the CEO. Rhett Jordan was the founder of Native Roots, which is the largest cannabis company in Colorado. He has about 26 dispensaries and about 250,000 square foot of cultivation. Has been in the industry for a good 10 plus years. Jason Velatico will handle all of the retail operations for Dma Holdings, and Malcolm Beers will handle marketing and sales. So I'm going to go ahead and give it over to David Lahar and Rhett Jordan, and they're going to kind of break down with you guys exactly where we're at today and give you guys a little time to get used to the team here as well. So appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe. Honored to be here. Good to meet all of you face to face at last. I think that probably what makes some sense here is to take a step back, give you a sense of the strategy that we're employing, and give you a little bit of a timeline of what's been achieved over the last year since we first came in front of you. And some of the things, obviously, we're going to share with you are confidential, and we trust, obviously, that you'll keep them confidential. But we think it's very important that there be full transparency with you as to the operations and where we're trying to go, so that you have a good sense of how we can collaborate and work well together. The underlying strategy for the company is to build as large a vertically integrated cannabis company as we can within the structure of the Massachusetts licensing approach. And as you gentlemen probably know, the largest canopy or area that you can have under cultivation in one entity has is 100,000 square feet, what they call a Tier 11. We have been given a Tier 8 license because that's what we applied for. Yep. That's fine. That's totally fine. As a Tier 8, we'll have 70,000 square feet of canopy to begin, and then we'll migrate and change the licensing as we add on to the facility. And we're going to talk a lot about the facility, obviously, to finally hit that maximum canopy of Tier 11. With the cultivation, it's very important to have advanced manufacturing capabilities, which will also be housed at the facility. And what we mean by manufacturing is taking cannabis flower, extracting the oil or distillate from it, and then producing products from that. It could be infused into edibles, or it could be vape cartridges, or some form of processed product, which is then packaged and then sold at retail. In Massachusetts today, about half of the revenues that are derived in all the retail locations are pure bud, pure flower. The other half are some form of manufactured product. So it's very important to be a large, vertically integrated company that you have a foot in both camps. And then finally, the Massachusetts licensing approach allows any one entity to have up to 3 retail locations. As you know, we will have 1 retail location in the front of the facility, and Rhett will talk a little bit about that. But we've also entered into an agreement to acquire 2 other licenses, a license in Lynn and a license in Taunton. Okay. That will give us the full number of retail licenses we can have in the state, and we'll supply the bulk of the product for each of those locations from the cultivation here in Dudley. Leaning on experience that Joe and Malcolm and I had in the hemp industry in Colorado, and very directly from Rhett's experience in Colorado, what we really want to bring to this operation is best of practice techniques in cultivation and in manufacturing. I'm going to show you some pictures of what a state-of-the-art facility looks like. It's really quite impressive in terms of automation and in terms of the real restricted practices you have to follow to make sure that you have a world-class facility. The other piece of the puzzle is to make sure we are bringing in and developing high-end genetics. And that's key to everything we do, because quality is the critical element. And then finally, to have a really advanced sort of approach to the retail and the branding that we have. So, since we've been here, and we'll speed this up a little bit, since we've been here, obviously, back a year ago in January, almost a year ago, we entered into the host community agreement. We have completed, as of just recently, the acquisition of the mill. We've received the 3 licenses that I was talking about. We now have those 3 provisional licenses. We've entered into the agreement to acquire the other 2. We've engaged with probably the leading general contractor in the state for the development of cannabis facilities, a firm out of Waltham called Vantage Builders, as well as the lead architect and lead engineering firm, whom you'll see at the planning board meeting on the 18th. So we think we're in a good position in terms of having the expertise we need on the professional development. Now, none of this comes cheaply. We're going to be investing a lot of money. We're in the midst of finalizing both debt and equity funding. But this is a $35 to $40 million project when the dust all settles. So, you know, we're taking it very seriously, and we hope to be bringing something important to the community. Let me introduce Rhett, and he actually knows what he's talking about when he gets to actual operations, so let me put him on.
Good afternoon or evening, gentlemen. Very nice to meet you. My name is Rhett Jordan. I came from Denver, Colorado. I had the luxury of meeting these gentlemen about 2 years ago and working through kind of what was the beginning stages of this application, and got really excited about the building, which is what we're going to talk about now, and just the town in general, and for Joey and Malcolm and our whole group to be able to bring this opportunity back to what is their hometown, and really hope to create some economic growth and some benefit for the community as well, and jobs, and also in many other forms that we do with our community outreach. I have, just give you a brief summary of who I am. I started in the cannabis industry in 2009 in Denver, Colorado, when it was a caregiver model, and I participated in both 1286 and Amendment 64 rulemaking, and sat on different committees and helped with drafting the ordinances that kind of eventually took place into Colorado that became law. I'm a big fan of creating sustainable businesses and environments that lead to secure, safe, and really responsible ownership by our group especially. I hold everyone to the very highest standards in Colorado, and I intend to do the same thing in Massachusetts. When we look at the diagram that's on the board or that you have in front of you, I'm just going to kind of walk you through the facility and explain the current use that we're going to be developing, and then speak a little bit towards the future expansion that we intend and hope to do. And I'm going to explain the workflow of the facility itself just briefly, so you understand kind of the security measures that we have in place, and the thought process that we have for workflow to make sure that it's kept safe and that everything is very controlled. Starting on the very left side of the diagram where it says manufacturing and retail warehousing and retail dispensary, that is a 20,000 square foot building. We will be utilizing the front of that building for the dispensary. Currently, we are going to be utilizing the building in its current state as is, because we believe it to be functional, as you can see, it's a fairly functioning parking lot facility as it is currently. We'll be bringing people in through the driveway that you see in the front by the dispensary there. There'll be about 14 spots, I believe, slated for the dispensary and employees as well. The facility itself is kind of designed for a product flow to go from cultivation all the way through the mill facility into the manufacturing or retail. And the reason we designed it that way is because you want to keep the product cultivation center as far away from where all the traffic is in general, not just from a security standpoint, but also from what we call an IPM standpoint, which is integrated pest management. So our intention is to try to keep that cultivation as clean and as far away and as secure as possible from any of the retail aspects of the business. So you can see the cultivation is on the far right. The plants themselves will get grown on the far right and then get harvested and begin the move through the building, and you'll see through the mill, you'll see a post-harvest and packaging diagram on there. that is where that plants will actually get cut down and then move into a kind of a cleaner corridor where they will dry, cure, and then eventually be packaged for consumer use or for manufacturing purposes. So once the product is now cultivated on the right, drying and being harvested and moving through the mill to the left of the facility, it will end up in what is warehousing, manufacturing, and retail, depending on what stage it is going to. So the building itself is actually very suitable for what we do. I have a building in Colorado that is a rectangle and everything is kind of connected. And because of that, you're getting the potential for cross-contamination throughout the facility and having different employees walking through different places. The reason I like this building and really fell in love with the aspect of the control of it is that we are actually able to have employees coming in from different areas and really control access and workflow through the building to make sure everyone is kind of in their designated areas. That helps for a control perspective from our business standpoint, from a security standpoint, and from a pest standpoint. And the goal here is to keep everything as clean and make the most high-end medical grade and recreational grade products that we can. So having these kinds of controls is really what defined our success in Colorado versus a lot of people's failures because they weren't able to subdivide and control the access. You can see on the diagram that the closed area, those are some of the core guts of the mill. At this juncture, we're going to be leaving them and just closing them off for now until we figure out what exactly the plan forward with that is. But at the moment, they don't have much of a use for what we're going to be using the building for, so we'll be closing them off. And you can see to the right where it says future cultivation expansion. Down the road, we would like to expand our license to a Tier 11, as Dave once mentioned earlier, so that would be where that expansion bay would be attaching to right there. As he mentioned, we have a Tier 8 license currently, which is 70,000 square feet. We talked about the expansion bay and the manufacturing capabilities. The manufacturing and extraction I'll go into briefly. Our intent is to build state-of-the-art facilities within the manufacturing area, which will include multiple commercial kitchens, as well as an extraction facility, which will utilize state-of-the-art technology. Unlike in Colorado, when I started the industry 10 years ago with them, and there was no ratings or secure machinery or anything had really been developed yet. At this point in the industry, we're at a different place where you get CL ratings on everything, and everything is very by the books and has been transformed for the industry to meet standards and codes. So you guys will see what is a top tier facility being built based around industry best practices and technology that's been developed. These are some great shots. This is a facility I built in Colorado. It's 210,000 square feet. Similar project size to what we've done here, similar canopy, similar everything, virtually. It homes about 300 employees, give or take, maybe a few less, but it is a much bigger cultivation currently than what we have here. And when we expand our facility to accommodate the Tier 11 license, you should be seeing somewhere between 200 and 300 employees. Currently, we're significantly lower than that. But as we expand, you'll see it grow. And it's just simply just to kind of show you the cleanliness, organization, and engineering that goes into these facilities is world-class. Our project schedule is around 16 months. We do intend to have kind of a phased approach to this where we'll be able to open the retails before we get to the cultivation and manufacturing due to their kind of project structure and how long it takes to build the manufacturing and cultivation. So you should see, and you'll see on the budget, different upticks of when those dispensaries will kick in and what months. Ultimately, I've seen our building company very successful with the projects they've been on currently, and they've been very adamant about holding their timelines and their schedules. So we anticipate to be pretty close to this schedule right here.
Great. Thanks, Rhett.
Yeah, absolutely did.
Let me just briefly go through what the project workflows and the professionals being engaged are. I alluded to this first at the beginning. 2 different architects Massachusetts-based, experienced in cannabis, particularly with respect to cultivation and manufacturing facilities, and an engineering firm that I think that they will be presenting at the planning meeting in the 18th. And then, as I said, Vantage Builders out of Waltham, probably the best of breed in the state. Our real commitment here is to using Massachusetts-based resources. And when we get to subs and when we get to tradespeople, we have a commitment to make sure to try to work locally as much as we can, as long as everybody is competitive. We've told the GC that our tie goes to the local runner. So we want to make sure to get bids from local tradespeople. Supporting our special permit application, we've completed our traffic study. On the 18th, we'll also be showing an engineering study, an energy study, an odor management and mitigation study. We have reviewed with Chief the security plan. This is a critical part of any cannabis facility, as you gentlemen know. And he has had a chance to give his views and have input. And then, of course, there'll be the proposal with respect to the site plan and parking. So I think that the meeting, we're looking forward to the special permit meeting with the planning board, and we think that there'll be a good back and forth at that meeting. And as I said, it's not cheap, and the financing is well advanced. We're not completed yet, but we're well along the way. We hope to be done about mid-November, where we'll be able to break ground and really start work on this. Joe, you want to, are you going to just read? Okay, fine.
So branding a retail strategy is something that I derive based around the community and how we want to impact the community. And when we enter a community, what does it mean, and what can we do to best suit the community? We're currently working with 3 different groups, or 3 different kind of branding strategies, I should say, with our team to kind of derive what is the best for town and how to stand out without standing out, if that makes sense. We would like to keep it as classy as possible, and we're not one of the groups that's going to come into town and wave a green flag around everywhere. That's just not our MO. We want to do this very clean and very in a very classy manner that makes it respectable and nice for town. In Colorado, I've had the luck of opening 23 dispensaries throughout different communities within different townships, and I understand what it means to create a brand that is versatile and that allows for everyone to kind of enjoy it without getting sick of it. So I intend to really help guide these guys into a place that allows us to create a brand that is synonymous with community outreach and with helping uplift each other as well. As you can see, just to kind of finish from the pictures and diagrams, world-class building retails, whether we go in the high-end kind of upper echelon group like this, or if we do more of a Massachusetts feel, either way, Vantage Builders is renowned for their build-outs. I can touch on just a few more things before you go. Sorry, I didn't look down. Being a vertically integrated company, we're going to be able to offer a significant amount of different products that a lot of people on the market aren't, because it's a very limited market right now. So we will be able to have a full array of products, from flower to vaporizers to edibles, all done in a controlled, packaged manner that will match the store and the different sub-brands that we create. Educating the consumer is something that we have done in Colorado in a way that not many other have been able to achieve, whereas we actually created an educational program for our employees to teach them about the products that they're selling, and also teach them about cannabis as a whole, so that they can help engage with the customers and really help educate them to make sure that they don't overconsume or do anything in a way that might harm them. So we make sure to emphasize education through our retail experience as much as physically possible. That's it. Thank you, Dave.
One of the lesser-known facts about the Massachusetts market that might surprise you is that the median age of the consumer is in low 50s.
That doesn't surprise me.
But that's also why education
guys.
Came to the right place.
Yeah, but that's also why the look and feel of these stores and the education are really critical. People want, at that age, you want to come in, I know, off the street. You want to feel like you're in a very legitimate environment. You're not on the street. You want to be educated. You want to know something. And the studies that have been done say that the average ticket goes from $100 to about $155 if you'll just spend a little time educating the customer. That's it. So it's a very important thing. Just briefly, the roughly $37 million that we're targeting raising here, about 28 of that is going into the ground, in essence. Hard and soft costs, the dispensary build-outs, and the cost of the building itself. So this is very much a financing around a development project, like a real estate project, as you'd expect. And then the balance is to pay off the license acquisition fees for the 2 licenses we're acquiring and for working capital of the company. So let me just sum up a little bit about what's, I think, important for this meeting, which are, how do we make sure we're giving back to the community? Obviously, economic development, when you have a project this size, is a critical aspect. During the project phase, as I said and alluded to, there's opportunities for local tradespeople. But afterwards, when we bring up the facility, we expect within 16 months to be employing roughly 200 to 250 people in this location here. Obviously, that's a meaningful impact, and we're proud of that, and we're looking forward to that. These are also going to be good jobs, full-time, well-paying jobs, and we're committed to healthcare coverage that is a good comprehensive package for the workers. This has been in every firm that we have been involved with, sort of a mantra with us. In both of the firms in Colorado, they had a full healthcare package for the employees, and we think that's a human right, to be honest with you. And there will be skill to these jobs. When you get into the cultivation area, we're going to educate and train. Rhett, in his operation, actually had a campus with university-like setting because there were so many people coming through, they needed to be trained. And if we have the resources and focus on training, they can be productive a lot more quickly for us, and they can, enhance their lives going forward as well. So this is really important. Obviously, there's the sales tax aspect for the city, which, frankly, the dispensary here will probably not be the highest grossing dispensary we have among the 3, but it will be meaningful. We think this is probably a $12 to $15 million a year dispensary. It could be much more than that if Fall River is any indication. But, obviously, you will take from the customers 3% of every dollar of sales out of that facility. Then the community impact fee, there's another 3% of the gross revenues of the operation there in Dudley, and that will probably yield about $1 million to $1.5 million by 2022. It will grow from there. So obviously, this is an important aspect, and this is what we've signed up for, and we're proud of this as well. We want to make sure that we are generating for the community the type of resources that we're also benefiting from. We're also getting back from the community. And then finally, as we move traffic from outside through for the retail dispensary, but also there will be some workers that are not from Dudley, obviously, we're going to generate a base of business for the local merchants. And we hope that that has a really meaningful impact on the center of town. So anyway, what I would suggest is we've thrown a lot at you. We're open for any questions you might have, and hopefully we've given you a clear view of where we're headed and what we're trying to do.
Thank you very much. Board members, any questions? Mr. Sullivan?
Thank you for the presentation. Very informative, very interesting. It's nice to see. Looks like Dudley's getting in on a kind of a ground floor, not playing catch-up. So the other 2 dispensaries, all the product will be grown here and be shipped there? Are they going to?
Well, I don't want to give you the impression that 100% of the product will be from our facility, but a very high percentage of it will be. 70 or 80% would not be atypical. Sometimes you cannot get a brand that you want because someone else has the license in the state, and yet you want to market it. And so we will buy some wholesale where there are brands that we want from other suppliers. But the vast majority of the product that we're putting through all 3 of those dispensaries will be here. Because obviously, the more we can put through here, the more retail margin we capture, and it's more beneficial for the company. But we will also, just to turn that around, we will not use 100% of our capacity in those retail locations. We'll have a meaningful wholesale business. So we will be supplying to other retail locations, because not everybody's vertically integrated, obviously. There are many, many, many retail locations that are one-offs. They're only the retail store. That's the only license they have. And they have to secure product, and this is one of the biggest problems in the Massachusetts market today. There is not enough supply, and there's not enough quality supply. So often you'll get into a retail location that doesn't have their own internal grow, and they'll be stocked out of certain things. They literally will not have product on the shelf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else have any questions? Mr. Marson?
No, just thank you for this. This was really good. It shows the voters that, supported this, that, this board that supported this project, that we're doing a few things, right?
Thanks. Yes,
We're-
you are.
People want it, they want details, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is forward progress. It's also, saving on a historic building in Dudley. That's
Yes.
another big thing that's been going on lately with our other mill in town that we're working on, another project, but
Well, I have to give the town kudos on the mill itself. Our general contractor is also doing a major project in a mill in Holyoke. And they came in to tour ours with a lot of trepidation, because that's a project that is doomed in a sense. It's a very difficult project.
yeah, no, we've
Yeah, and when they got into the mill here, they were ecstatic. You could just see them loosen up, because they said the thing's dry, the thing's tight, it's in good shape, and you've got these two modern buildings on the side. So they were very happy.
This was people as selectmen, we all, some sort of our campaign strategy was to run on economic development.
Absolutely.
And this touches many aspects of that. Wasn't something we all thought of, 9 years ago when I was on, first ran, but.
You never know where it comes
You
from.
never
right?
know where it's gonna come from.
And
At it.
you've got to look for these things,
Yeah.
because the state has its own issues.
Right.
And, you can't rely on an ever-expanding contribution from them.
Do you guys, Mr. Chairman, one more?
Certainly, go ahead.
Do you guys have a name, what this might be called? Are you guys still deciding?
Everybody back here is laughing.
We're working through the process.
Yeah.
For year 3, we're narrowing it down in the next couple of weeks, hopefully by our next meeting. we'll have-
Getting a name is not easy.
No.
To have a good name. In fact, we've reached out and hired professionals to help
Yeah.
us.
Well, for branding and advertising, that's important. You can't, DMA, great name,
Yeah, that's just a legal entity.
People might want something a little more.
Thinking something like Marcy's Incorporated.
That's right.
or something,
Yeah, hey, well,
That,
You don't want to scare people away, though.
No, thanks. No, I know it's a hard thing, but.
it is
but I'm
impossible
curious.
hard.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, do you have anything?
No, just interesting, anytime you see agricultural aspects, manufacturing aspects, education of a workforce, jobs, tax revenue, it's an exciting opportunity where there's not a lot of these being lined up in town, so appreciate the detail showing us the inside look.
Let me turn it around and compliment you as well. I mean, there's a wide range of experiences that a cannabis company can have coming into a community. It can be controversial, it can be contrary, or it can be constructive. And you've been enormously constructive and helpful. And we appreciate that, and that's really why we wanted to sit here and turn it around and be constructive back and bring you in to the information flow. You are always welcome at any time to call any of us, ask any questions, come down and see what we're doing, because we want you to be informed about the project as the project moves along.
Tour would be good at some point.
Yes, a tour would be.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And drafters will be out of there in the first part of December, so, okay.
Yeah.
Just before the public
The
hearing.
fun of tour when drafters is still there.
Yeah,
Before and after is important.
yes, exactly.
So we can have some, what's that called? Not discretion, an idea of before and after, yeah. But I just want to echo what everyone else here said. Thank you very much for the information. You didn't have to do this. and you gave us, not as big as last time, but you gave us enough in the presentations you all did. You explained everything where, geez, as I was going through, I was going to think to ask questions. What's this closed place going to be?
That
was my first question.
You answered it. I might want to ask what Massachusetts
Is that the
style
secret?
is. I don't know.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it was interesting.
That's what he was going with, was rural.
It was interesting the way you said that, Mr. Chairman, because it was either we could go classy, high-end, and nice, or we could go Massachusetts style.
He didn't mean it that way, he really didn't.
Like lobsters and cranberries everywhere? I don't know. Coming from Colorado, I visited Colorado for work. Great place. It was different, but great place.
Different.
So gentlemen,
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to go ahead and thank you guys again. You know, I want the community to know that we are very excited about this opportunity, very excited to bring back to a community that I grew up in and two of the other partners grew up in. We always want everybody in this community to feel very comfortable with what we're doing. I know it's very new to a lot of people here, and we understand that. And so if there are any questions, if anybody in town ever has questions, we always want to just go about things in a very amicable way and try to always solve things and not blow everything up. So we do appreciate everything and just want to thank you guys for tonight, and really just wanted to take you really deep into where we're at. I know for the past 6 to 8 months it's been a little quiet. Obviously you can see we've had a lot of work on our plates, and we are building a very big company here. And you know, compared to what is currently in town, I think that this will make a very big impact, and that's what we're really trying to do. So just wanted to step up here before we close this subject and thank you guys again, and looking forward. And a tour is not an issue. So we appreciate everything, and thank you guys.
Thank you. Anyone have, Mr.
Yeah,
Marcy?
So when do you guys plan on getting actual, I know the draft is closing, you know.
Yeah, breaking ground will be sometime around January, the end of December, January, when it's the coldest possible. But really, a big part of what happens right off the bat, there'll be stuff in the background, but that dispensary comes up. Because we do want to start to generate revenues out of all three of the dispensaries. So the first thing coming online will be the Dudley dispensary, then the Taunton dispensary, then the Lynn dispensary, and then right about month 13, 14, manufacturing and cultivation will come up. It'll take a couple more months after that for the first harvest. Okay, so there's a perpetual harvest. You don't put it all in one, take it all out, and then put it back in. You have sectors that are coming off and coming up at various times.
Okay. No, thanks for that.
Lean manufacturing.
Yeah, that's right up your alley. Speaking his language.
That is.
Got any charts to show him?
Charts and graphs.
Gotta go there, right?
They're called facts. You analyze them and you make decisions from them.
You've got a couple engineers on the board, so for them not to have a lot of questions,
I'm
that
not one
means
of
you
them.
put something
Well,
together nice.
I'll tell you, when we do get that manufacturing up, the engineers will enjoy it. There's 3 different technologies of extraction, and they're not trivial. And they have to be in explosion-proof sort of containers, and they have to be done right. So there's a lot of very precise control of everything. The environmental controls are
There's my
staggering.
date tomorrow.
Sounds like chemical engineering to me, Jay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you coming by.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Appreciate it. We'll see you downtown.
All right, thanks, man. Good to see you.
What do I find? Look at that.
Take care, folks.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Safe travels. Let's see this.
All right, next on the agenda, we have Police Chief. Regarding sick time discussion, that's tabled from 10/19/20.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, good news is I'll ask to table this again to a future meeting for an executive session discussion. Basically, just to recap, there was an issue with my accumulation of sick time. I have on the books a little over 268 days of time built up over my 30-plus years. And during our annual recalculation with the Treasurer's Office, Treasurer pointed out the fact that he believes I can only accumulate or max out at 150 days. So we had a discussion about the additional time that's there. Currently on my paycheck, it says 512 hours or 64 days, so I don't know why that is, but it's an issue I discussed with the administrator, and so we will be doing some more discussions over the next week or so, and then I'll make an appointment to talk to you all in executive session and go over it all from there. Because all the treasurer is asking for is an agreement, clarification with the board, so that's what we'll do and provide it to them, and this should straighten that matter out.
So you're asking us for an executive session, correct?
Yeah, it's probably for the next meeting, and like I said, I'll take the time to sit down with the administrator. We'll go over some language and put some things together, and we should be able to resolve it at the next meeting and have it satisfactorily done.
Excellent. Any board members have any questions? We're good?
I'd just like to say that, obviously, we always expect good communication out of, both our appointed and elected department heads and to resolve any issue. So glad to see that communication starting to happen.
Yep. Yeah, I think it can get resolved.
Agreed.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Next up, we have board member comments. Mr. Sullivan.
I just want to thank the people of Dudley. As I said at the town meeting the other night, I'm always the one that says, thank the 58 people that showed up, but we had well over a normal amount. I spoke to people that pulled in and saw the line and turned away, so we could have had even more. I thank the voters for the way they voted, especially to give us permission to at least proceed with the Stevens Mill project, as we've seen tonight. $40 million project roughly, and the other one's $40 million. I thank the voters, and I challenge anyone to find a town our size that's got about $80 to $90 million in projects coming up. But I thank everyone for showing up. Thank you for having your voices heard and for the general overall civil discourse of the evening.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Johnson.
Similar comment to Selectman Sullivan. You learn quite a bit at town meeting. You have conversations throughout the year, but you get a different sense for how things should be at a town meeting. So I think Chairman said it. You always learn something at these. So at the meeting, we learned that we need to be better. We learned that different ways to see different items. So, and I'd expect the people in the town to follow up on the decisions they made. When you have elected officials such as us, you can hold us accountable because every 2 weeks we're here. So I'd argue, ensure that you're holding all elected officials accountable in the same way. Ask for the information, ask for follow-up, ask for more information. It's because it's the right thing to do.
Well said. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Marcy.
Yeah, well said, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Sullivan. I was going to talk about attendance at town meeting, and again, all of the years I've been on the board, that was the most well-attended, the best-attended one. I was happy to see it. I was most excited about the mill bylaw change. I think there's only a few dissenters on that one, so now we get to, again, just not to repeat what Mr. Sullivan just said, but we just had a nice presentation for somebody willing to spend a lot of money here in Dudley. And that just has its, a ripple effect across the rest of the town. And this is another example of that. And some of the things that this board and this management team has, dedicated itself to do to bring economic development, additional tax revenues, jobs, and so forth. So these exciting times coming up.
Thank you, Mr. Marcy. I had in my mind what I was going to say, but little pieces of it were said by my three colleagues here. But I think I'm going to add on to it by saying we're not done yet. You showed us at town meeting that if we bring to you something that makes sense and give you the information, you folks will vote for it. And I don't think we're finished. If there's someone interested in doing something else in Dudley, rehabbing something, starting some sort of a business that'll give us a few hundred good-paying jobs, and you heard the gentleman earlier with insurance, with good insurance, and they consider that to be a human right. That's exactly the opposite of what you hear from most big companies nowadays. That was refreshing to hear. And hopefully we'll get some more of these opportunities, and we'll put them all in front of you and give you information like we did this time. And yeah, we're on a good path. Let's keep going. Next up, we have Departmental Communications. George, do you have anything?
Oh, we should probably talk about the ambulance. Is fire chief?
Just to let you guys know, they're going to be beginning the transitional main project on Schofield Ave. That'll be tying in the two water pump stations together for blending for PFAS. You've probably seen the equipment down there and the trailers and the piping and that. Probably going to be lasting about 3 weeks, maybe 4 at the most, depending on weather and any problems we come up with. Once that's established, that starts the blending process where 2 stations simultaneously run to blend water to reduce the PFAS content. Down the line, we'll be looking for a major treatment facility to be put on the New Boston Road site deeper in the woods. And maybe even possibly that another station may be tying into that even in the future. It's the wave of the future with PFAS with all the towns now. We've been lucky. We're kind of in the forefront in the beginning, so we're getting all the good treatment from the state, and the SRF loan grants are coming more available for us to grab to, and we're taking advantage of that. But it is a long process, and it's a mandated process, and all towns will be testing or sampling PFAS in the next upcoming year, mandated by the state. And you'll probably see a lot of this talk pop up now for all the towns that have PFAS are going to be scrambling to put treatment facilities or do what we're doing or whatever. So we're kind of coming in right under the wire, hoping to get most of our stuff done, and that way there we can take advantage of what's out there. So hopefully we won't disrupt many people down in Schofield Ave area too much.
Yeah, hopefully not. Thank you, George.
Thanks, George.
Police Chief, you have anything? As I ask that as you're halfway up to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple quick things. This past Saturday, we had our drug take-back. So it was the first one. They couldn't do the one in April. It was canceled due to COVID, so we did one now. We turned in about 12 large boxes of prescription medications. So those have been building up over some time, but we were able to get those in. So hopefully the next one will take place in April, and we'll get that going. Halloween's this Saturday, so we just tell everybody to exercise all the proper precautions and everything like that they're going to be doing there. I think I sent the board something, but I participated in the virtual presentation at the International Chiefs Conference on Friday. Filmed the session back in September, and it was broadcast on Friday at the virtual conference. Quite an experience. I thank the folks at Nichols College that helped put the video together. Ended up assisting me with using the rooms up there to film the session at, and it was really quite a good experience. I appreciate that. And also shout out to my son for helping me with the PowerPoints. You guys are very skilled with those things, making them look really good. So it was a big plus. And finally, we've been getting some questions on elections, so we're going to have presence here during it. We also remind people all the time to respect the 150-foot rule for any type of political literature and things. So that means anything is restricted to either across the street, nothing down in the lower parking lot, nothing out on this side of the building, and the back is restricted to the far back of the area. So no other political signs, anybody showing up to vote, not wearing your buttons or shirts or hats or whatever it is inside the polling place, because that's a no-no. It's not supposed to happen. And we haven't heard of any issues, but we'll deal with them whenever they come up. And if anybody has any questions as that comes forward, just let me know. And that should be good. And welcome to our student representative.
Thank you.
I'm sure you'll do a fine job with everything. One thing I did have to remark, though, if you're running for class president, just remember that this one's a permanent position. So if you get elected your senior year, it's a permanent position. So good luck with that if you want it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, one question.
Mr. Sullivan.
Chief, the applicant that was just before us spoke about the existing business in the Stevens Linen Mill. It's my understanding they had an incident the other night. I guess the question is more towards us maybe than you. How are we gonna proceed with that? Because the expectation is they're moving to a different location out of state, but if they were to stay within the confines of Dudley, how are we
Oh,
gonna?
you're talking the mill on, not Stevens Lane, you're talking
Yeah.
Ethan Allen?
As I said, the guys that just made the.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to say the name, but there was an incident there last weekend,
Okay.
which resulted with quarantining of some of our people.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll get the reports I can to the board, and then we can discuss it in a meeting.
I just think, Mr. Chair,
We should do.
it's incumbent upon us to proceed as if they're, till the license comes off the wall and gets handed in to us. They could always change their mind and relocate within the town borders.
Mr. Chairman, I think we should
Johnson?
do some, get some more information on that before we.
Yeah, I'll get that, I
I
can get that
don't
together
want it
for
to
you.
fall
and
through the cracks.
Get that together for you to get the review.
I spoke to the chief last week.
Information's always good. It doesn't
Yep.
have to be as thick as this, but information's always good. Mr. Marcy?
All right, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Chief, yeah,
Thank you.
thanks,
Hey,
Chief.
Chief.
Also, we have here, nobody, Mr. Carmignani, the treasurer, is on the conference call. Mr. Carmignani, do you have anything?
Just a few quick things. I'll try to be brief. The MedX rate came in. We saved $10. As a whole, went down from 337 up to 327. So that's favorable. It's really not going to move the needle on anything as far as the budget goes, but it's a good direction to go.
That's a strike.
Unpaid taxes for 2020 are going in the paper. So the end of the week, that Webster Times is going to have the tax title
Two of the guys
advertising.
with COVID
Board
positive.
clarification.
That's why the guys are in quarantine.
Perfection of the lien that goes onto the property. No one is losing their property. The town of Dudley is just formally recognizing the unpaid amount. We put the lien on the property so that the mortgage companies and what have you know that there's outstanding taxes. No one loses property. It's just a mark like a second mortgage or what have you. Any questions, email or call, I'm happy to answer them. The advertising date is 10:30. The taking date is going to be Monday the 16th. So if there's somebody you know that's got something outstanding, needs to get paid by the 16th, or else the mark goes on and then there's fees and everything. So we'll abbreviate that conversation. As far as other taxes go, everyone knows the 4 due dates. One of the 4 due dates is November 1st. Much as I love the town of Dudley, we were not going to be there on that Sunday to collect the taxes. Monday, November 2nd is the technical due date. So as much as we're closed to the public, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you can get in to vote, but no one's going to be on the window on that Sunday the 1st. Happy to take all those payments on that Monday. You can take them online up until that Monday night. Get the check in the mail. Again, any questions, feel free to email or give a telephone call. Other than that, good luck with your Dma Holdings project. It looks like we've got something good coming in.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carmignani.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Oh, actually, we
Nope,
have a
no,
question.
nothing,
I'm sorry?
not for him. I need to add to my,
Yeah, I do
Of
my
course, I'm
statement.
happy to answer.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I need to add to my statement after we're done with the.
I do
Oh.
too.
No, that was not a question for you, sir. That was just, they wanted to add
Well,
something else.
board member
Sorry,
comments.
sorry for the,
you
sorry for the confusion.
You gave me a second to recircle on an item. Water Sewer Superintendent George Petrino's just spoke. As far as the finances go, right now we're working on the compliance letter. We call it the green light letter. Lock Lord LLP is our bond counsel. They are the people who protect the bank's interest and the future investors. There's a great big pile of things that are being sorted through as we speak. As soon as we get the green light letter, we'll be able to borrow the money. One item of note for that, pardon the pun, 5 projects are being reviewed all at once. So all of the various water and sewer projects, in addition to the ambulance borrowing, are being reviewed just for compliance, to make sure all the i's are dotted, t's crossed, everything like that. And I have to thank George Petrinos for his patience, and of course Jen Canoyer, who's making sure that he is pointed in the right direction. Also, I need to thank Lori Smith. It's quite a task, and it's a terrible time to ask her for certified copies and what have you. Lori's been very helpful making sure that the attorneys get the certified copies of everything that they need. What was supposed to be a brief comment turned into an extra minute or two. Mr. Chairman, thank you for the extra time. Good night.
You're very welcome, Mr. Carmignani. Good night. Mr. Johnson, you wanted to add to your selectman comment?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot, the Boy Scouts of Troop 273 are holding a drive-through pancake breakfast at St. Anthony's on Saturday morning at 7:30 to 10:30 a.m. There's tickets available at the drive-through, and it's, you know, to protect both the scouts and the people buying it. It's one of the big fundraisers for the year, in a year where there's very few fundraisers.
That's this Saturday, Jay?
Saturday morning, 7:30 to 10:30 up at St. Anthony.
And Mr. Johnson, there's no Boy Scout yard sale for the foreseeable future, correct?
No, the committee decided to pass based on the restrictions. Risk versus reward was not the way the committee felt could be something we want to move forward with. So
Pancake breakfast is pancakes. What else is on the menu?
pancake sausage,
Mr. Joseph here to ask.
pancake sausage, a drink, a prepackaged drink, and a nice to-go packet.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Marcy, you
Yeah, just one, I failed to mention earlier, you know, next Tuesday, November 3rd, is Election Day. Silly season is almost over. And I just tell everybody, make your voice heard, get out there and vote. On the Dudley ballot, we also have our a debt exclusion article for a new ambulance. If you haven't seen the video that the fire chief put together, which was excellent, it's out there on the Town of Dudley's Facebook page, also on our website, I believe. Lot of work get in there to put that together, but just keep in mind that the ambulance is a revenue generator for the town. We'll quickly pay that ambulance off, so I think it's a worthwhile consideration to vote for that. So please consider that and get out and vote.
Agreed on the ambulance, Mr. Marcy, thank you. And one more thing, and I promise this is it. Halloween, be safe. That's all.
Halloween.
Whatever you're doing, and I'm not telling you what or whatever, just be safe, thank you. Next on the agenda,
Interviews.
I think something appeared on my agenda. Next up, we have Highway Superintendent Interviews.
You can sit through this if you want. You can stay.
More than welcome, but he's probably gonna be bored to tears.
Yeah.
These are non,
You're more than welcome to stay, but,
I have a report to give.
oh,
Oh.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yeah, no, you get it.
oh, you do,
Look at
already?
he showed up first night for the report.
Geez, we
Wow.
you know, we didn't even appoint you, and you've already got a report ready.
Oh, you gotta come prepared.
Good job.
Fred, are we still on? Okay.
All right, am I good to go?
Yeah, you're good to go.
All right, good evening, everybody. I want to first thank Principal Chaplin for recommending me for this position, and I would like to thank the board once again for giving me the chance to serve in this very important role. My goal for my reports will be to update the community on the current events at Shepherd Hill and share the perspectives of me and my classmates to hopefully give a better understanding of our school. I would like to use my time tonight to go over how we've begun our year at Shepherd Hill. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, so students began the school year remotely on September 16th. Students attended live remote classes on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday each week. On Wednesday, students were given asynchronous work to complete during the day. On days with live classes, students attended 6 50-minute classes between 7:30 and 1:50. Students were given 10 minutes to transition between classes and 40 minutes for lunch. I am happy to report remote learning went very smoothly with very few technical glitches. I found that once I got into a routine and got a good space set up, the remote learning went very smoothly. And I know a lot of students can relate to that. However, I do find in-person instruction and interactions to be more beneficial for me personally. I think from what I heard, a lot of my fellow classmates agreed with me, which is why it's good that we recently transitioned to a hybrid model. I'm very happy to report that our transition to a hybrid model has gone very smoothly. Beginning on October 15th, students in cohorts B and C attended classes at Shepherd Hill from 7:30 to 11:15 on Thursdays and Fridays, while cohorts A and C attended classes at Shepherd Hill on Monday and Tuesday from 7:30 to 11:15. Cohort A has been attending online classes from 12:15 to 2:25 on Thursday and Friday, while students in cohorts B and C have been attending online classes from 12:15 to 2:25 on Monday and Tuesday. While students are not in class, they have been given asynchronous work to work on. Some students and families have opted to continue learning completely remotely. Those students have been attending live remote classes at the time in which their cohort is in class. I am very excited to be that we are back in the building. I have found that my in-person classes to be very beneficial in high school education. I hope that soon we'll be able to do more in-person learning. So for safety precautions, students and faculty have been following what we call the big 3 while they are in the building, which is wearing masks, physical distancing, and hand sanitizing. Students have also been required to self-certify their health by filling out a Google form every day, which is checked by the nurses. The school nurses have been working very hard to ensure the health and safety of our students and faculty. Our custodians have been constantly cleaning the building as well. From what I have observed, almost everyone has been following proper safety protocols. Our cafeteria staff, directed by Matthew Greenberg, has been hard at work preparing meals for our students. The grab-and-go meals are currently free and available to all students during dismissal. Meals are also available for pickup on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. I find these meals to be very helpful as it has given me and many other students the opportunity to fit full and nutritious meals into our busy schedules. Extracurricular activities have begun modified seasons to meet safety requirements. Our athletic director, James Scanlon, and our coaches have done a great job to prepare for the athletic season. Last month, soccer, field hockey, cross country, and golf began modified seasons. Mask wearing and physical distancing have been observed during practices, and our seasons are already off to a great start. Our teams have been playing local schools only and are limited to one-on-one games or meets. The show choir and band have also been practicing. In our music department, Becky Boussier and David McCouga have been working hard to ensure safe practices. Some practices have been done virtually over Zoom, while some practices have been done outside with physical distancing and masks. Overall, though our seasons look different, students are happy to be once again doing what they love. I got the chance to speak to some of the students who are on the cross-country team, and they told me that it has been difficult with so many modifications to the sport, but they are grateful to be back together and running again. So I just have, for 1 minute, I want to talk about some student concerns, which I've heard. I've heard some concerns from my classmates regarding not having enough time in-person learning. I want to state that it is the goal that we will return to full in-person learning. Our administrators and staff have done a great job thus far in getting to the point of hybrid learning. However, there is still work that needs to be done before students can safely return full-time, which is why it's important to continue practice wearing masks and physical distancing, so that we can reach a point where it's safe to return for full in-person learning. I have also heard some concerns over changes in the schedule and protocols. One student told me that she really likes the schedule that we are on, as she feels it will allow us to be successful as students. Principal Chaplin has done a great job by providing weekly detailed updates to the students. I did have one student tell me that she was concerned about how some students were not taking the pandemic seriously enough. I can't deny that this is true in some cases, which is why it's important that we continue to encourage safe practices at school and in the community. Once again, from what I have observed, students have been doing a good job following the guidelines while in school. Before I close up my report, I would like to take a moment to offer my perspective as a student on the year so far at Shepherd Hill. While I believe the current state of learning is far from ideal, I recognize that our school is doing the best we can to offer a great education while keeping everyone safe. This is certainly not how I had pictured my senior year, but I know that we need to make some adjustments. I have found the in-person classes as well as the virtual classes to be very helpful when it comes to test taking and completing my asynchronous work. While it has been challenging at times, I have adjusted myself to the current state of learning. My teachers have been very helpful when it comes to answering questions and concerns. Though I know there will be more challenges ahead, I feel highly optimistic about the future. So in closing, I am happy to report that we've had a very successful start to our year. While things look a little different than they did in the past, our students and faculty are happy to be back. We continue to strive towards our goal of full in-person learning, but we realize that ultimately safety comes first. I want to give a special thank you to the administrators, secretaries, teachers, nurses, cafeteria workers, custodians, and anyone else that has helped the students and families of Shepherd Hill during this especially difficult time. They are all heroes, and I would like to recognize them for the work they have done to help this community. Today, we continue to stand strong as a Shepherd Hill community. Thank you for your time this evening, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Wow, thank you, Mr. Humphries.
You're welcome.
That was quite a bit for coming in, not even being appointed.
I know,
yet.
I mean,
Can't wait to see
not all
what the
my
next
reports-
meeting's gonna look like.
not all my reports will be that long, but I had to kind of like
Thank you.
go September to now.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So we've got the superintendent interviews, Mr. Ruda. Highway superintendent interviews.
These are the same questions as last time, Mr. Chairman. And our first candidate is waiting for us, Jeffrey Murray. If you'd like, I will get him.
What's his name?
Jeffrey Murray.
Just want to make sure I have the right resume and ask the right questions. Yes, please. Everyone ready?
Yes.
Got the music.
Mr. Ruda, is it okay that the student rep is here for this?
Did I say or leave?
Sure, you can stay.
I can stay?
If you'd like to stay, that's fine. Maybe just move to relocate.
I actually think I was actually gonna head out now because I have school tomorrow, so I gotta go to some studying and stuff, okay?
Yep.
I was told that I could leave at this point.
Totally fine.
Well, have a great night.
Go through Michelle when you get any questions.
Next meeting's, next week, right?
Hope not.
2 weeks.
Thursday. No, I'm kidding. It's in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'll text you, I'll send you an email.
On November 9th?
In the red chair.
Yeah.
Have a great night.
Nice to meet you, Colin.
Bye, Colin. Thanks.
Good evening, Mr. Murray. How are we this fine evening?
Good evening. Just find yourself. Sorry.
What we're going to do, just, we've got some questions. We asked the same questions of everyone, so we're not tailoring them to you specially. Is there anything else the board would like to add in addition to that before we start the questions?
Sorry, we're kind of late.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, we're a little late.
Yeah, sorry we're a little late. We're,
Understandable.
some of us get a little verbose, but, I'll start off. Could you tell us about yourself, your education, experience, and interest in this position? That's one question.
Sure. So, a little bit about myself. Father of 4 children. I have 2 adult children that are grown and gone, and a pair of 14-year-old twin girls. My experience and background is in the construction industry over 35 years. I grew up in a family construction business that I worked in for most of my career, well, the greater part of my career, which I then took over. So I have a pretty good experience of utility construction, maintenance, and roadway construction. I've done both public and private work. Some building construction. I'm a licensed construction supervisor, as well as I've had a lot of experience with underground utilities, with licensing that for pretty much water, sewer, drainage. Familiar with gas work. I've worked as a project manager for several different construction companies other than my own, and as well as having some experience with municipality that I live in the town of Auburn. So I've served for one term as a selectman myself about 20 years ago, from 2001 to 2004. Served on various committees in town, one of them being the Charter Review Committee, and I did a little research, obviously, into the issues that town of Dudley's been up against, and I see that it looks like they've kind of struggled with some with the issues that Auburn once did before having a charter change as far as organizationally with the highway department. So I guess that pretty much sums it up.
Any follow-up questions from the board on any of that? If it's all right with the board, I'll keep reading the questions unless we'd like to.
Sure.
Is that all right with everyone?
Go ahead. I'm gonna break my heart if you're reading.
Well, I figure one voice, straight ahead, it'd be great for them. Keep everybody nice. Explain how your education and experience matches the position.
My education and experience matches the position in that I've taken various courses. I have not received a degree in engineering or anything of the such, but I do have some technical background in the business. As I said, over 35 years working in the business, although not with a municipality, dealing with municipalities pertinent to the issues that would be of concern with the position of the highway department. I've been licensed for water, sewer, drainage, any number of different types of jobs, and construction related, from roadway construction projects with building roadways for subdivisions, some work with municipal dam projects, and
Any follow-up questions from the board? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, thank you for coming in tonight, Mr. Murray. In your experience under president owner of J.E. Murray Construction, you have a lean preventive maintenance program. Were you Lean Sigma 6?
I'm sorry?
You said lean preventive maintenance program to ensure?
Yes, so I oversaw all the maintenance of company-owned equipment. We owned a full complement of excavators, backhoes, bulldozers, front loaders, and trucks with all the pertinent issues with care, maintenance, and repair, as well as procurement.
And then on your experience, accounts receivable, accounts payable, on your education and skills, you list Microsoft Office, Peachtree Accounting. Which one do you think would be more, I know you haven't done the position, but more appropriate towards municipal?
Pretty much all of the, any of the Microsoft suite would be pertinent, but accounting skills as well. And again, with my most recent job, I had worked with RHY Construction as a project manager for them. and pretty much handled all of the procurement, any of the accounting, monthly reporting to the officers of the company with productivity reports, as well as financial status, and maintaining bid profit or financial stability of the projects, and pretty much carry full responsibility for that as the project manager. So that I think is a carryover skill for what would be on the plate for somebody in the position as a highway surveyor.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none. What licenses or certifications do you have relative to this position? Like a CDL, anything like that, hoisting license? that sort of-
Currently, I've maintained a CDL-A license with a air brake and tanker endorsement, just for the fact of my time was not best spent sitting behind the wheel of a truck, but just so that I didn't get cut short if the need should arise. It was easier to maintain that or keep that than to restore it if need be. So.
Well, to be fair, Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Sullivan.
maybe Mr. Ruder can expound on it, but like at plow time especially, superintendent has an established plow route, more in a pickup truck than a big truck, but I know in the past there's been opportunities for the interim and the previous superintendent to have to jump into different pieces of equipment, so that's kind of, I think, why we lean towards preferred, but.
I think just as superintendent of highways, that plowing road construction is a requirement, obviously, to be at some point out in the field to, oversee and manage the projects to the degree that it's necessary.
Right. But it can be very hands-on. Very hands-on.
Yeah, so, again, I've had a great deal of experience running equipment and plowing snow for nearly 40 years. The construction company that I grew up in, my own family's construction company, we did plowing for the municipality on a contract basis when necessary. I also did commercial parking lots. 35, 40 years ago, we used to plow the Auburn Mall and maintain all the snow and ice control for that, as well as considerable amount of commercial parking lots and roadways or complexes.
10-wheelers?
10-wheelers, front-end loaders, backhoe loaders, pickup trucks. And I'm completely familiar with the operation and of nearly any type of construction equipment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sullivan. Next up, please expand upon your managerial experience, including budgeting and employee management, specifically as it relates to collective bargaining personnel.
With my own company, after taking over my family's business, I signed an agreement with Local 4, so all of my equipment operators were union members. Familiar with the process of dealing with a collective bargaining unit and dealing with those issues and how the employees are handled. I think it's pretty clear through the contract what's laid out, and those things need to be followed.
Any board members have any questions?
How about the budgeting half of that question?
Oh, I'm sorry. So the budgeting aspect, again, with my own business as well as any of the project management positions that I've had, been responsible to manage the budgeting, bidding, the financial stability of the work, make sure that it stays on track with with the budget, do any of the procurement and any of the oversight to be sure that the way the process was bid or budgeted to be done, that and that's the way it's executed by the employees, or as nearly as possible, to stick to budget. And again, with my most recent position, one of the requirements is a monthly forwards backwards look, as well as peer reporting on any projects on a quarterly basis throughout the project to show the financial stability, the productivity, and that certain benchmarks are met with any projects from a financial standpoint as well as a productivity standpoint.
Any other questions from the board? Please expand upon your municipal experience and how it relates to this position.
My municipal experience, again, is I had one 3-year term as a selectman myself, and I think, as I'm sure you all know, that's an education in and of itself.
What do you mean?
Be that.
Oh, he knows.
Yeah.
Most often thankless. I think you could all agree at times. So that's given me some insight as to the processes that take place with municipal budgeting, procurement, how the process works with bond issues related to bonds or municipal budgeting, as well as pursuit of state funds or Chapter 90 funds or grants or anything like that would be required. Also, again, I did serve some time on several different committees in my own town with Charter Review Committee. We actually effected a change in our charter and changed to a DPW form of for a highway department from an unelected highway department official to an appointed, as well as a DPW director, with all encompassing with the municipal departments. Also, I served on the Personnel Review Board, and most of the 4 or 5 years that I spent on the board was as its chairman, and again, with different issues related to some collective bargaining and others with directly.
The system has detected that there is only one participant on the conference. The conference will now end.
It's just the NSA, you're fine.
Yep. So, again, dealing with personnel-related issues and salaries or job descriptions.
Okay. Any board members have any questions? No.
No, I saw that on your resume, as you're a selectman, so, you've seen it now from both sides, so that's of interest, yeah.
Good times. Comes full circle.
Mhm.
Here's one. Describe a time when you dealt with a stressful situation. How did you manage your emotions?
Well, I guess pertaining to position as a selectman, there was oftentimes contentious issues that one of the big issues that I dealt with when I was a selectman was the town was trying to come up with a plan to address the issue of a new high school, and whether to either reconstruct or renovate an existing school that they had, or build a new one and come up with a plan with a new facility. And there were oftentimes contentious situations where residents were, throngs of residents would come to meetings, and have to try and maintain order and keep people civil and defuse the situation. And I like to think that I was successful in doing that. And after a 15-year battle of trying to come up with a suitable project, we were actually, in my within my term, within my 3-year term, come up with a plan to construct a new high school.
Great. Mr. Marcy?
What about on another project, non-municipal, just like,
On other projects, there's, oftentimes mediation that has to be done with employees. You know, you can have a couple of guys, you can have a foreman and an employee, or merely a couple of employees where you need to diffuse the situation and, maybe remove them from a job site. And I actually had a situation not too long ago where I had a superintendent that was just very, very aggressive and admittedly told me that employees don't like him because he likes to do what he wants to do. And so I had to pull him aside, diffuse the situation, separate him from some other employees, and talk him down, and then make documentation that hadn't been done previously as far as any disciplinary action that needed to take place, so that he was aware that, things were being watched or monitored and documented.
thank you.
Mr. Sullivan?
So, Mr. Murray, I'm just gonna give you a scenario. What if it was a plowing operation, big storms coming in, you're in the garage, you got one guy upset about a situation at his house, his home with his family. You got another guy in the background chirping at you because he wants you to tell him what route to go on, and you got another guy doesn't want to take his truck out, maybe a blinker's broke or a mirror's not right. In what order would you handle those problems, and how would you help settle down the situation?
First of all, I think the situation with the employee with the family issue, I think I would have him address that first. If there was something going on that he had, an issue where he had to leave or take care of something at home, I think typically that would be, kind of triage that as something that needed to be taken care of first, and try and make sure that things were staying calm between any of the other employees that were there. If there was somebody that needed an issue addressed with equipment, obviously that would need to be addressed with any of the maintenance personnel, or if, lack of maintenance personnel, either the employee is capable of doing that, or I could speak to them about taking care of that along with them and directing how to resolve that. And then as far as the other issue with somebody that, you said that there was somebody else that just didn't want to.
Well, they wanted to know what route am I gonna go do, what am I doing tonight?
Okay. So I'd have them stand tight until and identify the route that they would be going on to, and make sure that the most important issues get taken care of first. Again, family issue, the equipment taken care of, and identifying probably in that order.
Thank you.
Anything else? Here's a good one. How do you organize and prioritize your workload?
Usually the way I like to do that is, I'm usually in early, or I like to address things early and stay ahead of the curve. I usually start out my day by making a hit list, and oftentimes those are things that maybe spill over from the day before. So from the end of the day, you might identify things that need to be addressed for the following day, and then as a review the following day, first thing in the morning, you review those things and make sure that the most important things are taken care of first. Any resident concerns, I'm sure, with this type of position, as I'm sure you know with the position as being a selectman, those need to be addressed quickly. And then most often the short answer would be a list.
Okay. Anybody have anything? No? This is Mr. Ruta's favorite. Tell us about your experiences with successfully obtaining grant funding.
Quite honestly, I have not been directly involved with,
Okay.
with obtaining grant funding. I have been involved as a selectman with, different types of grants that have been awarded, but honestly not directly myself.
Okay, fair enough. Last one. Share a time when you willingly took on additional responsibilities or challenges. How did you successfully meet all of the demands on these responsibilities?
I guess that's a tough one, and I guess I routinely take on additional responsibilities, and if, depending on the situation, again, just, for a simple answer, I've maintained a CDL license, just so that if I got into a situation where it was necessary to even move a vehicle from one site to another to facilitate an operation or the workflow to happen. If I had a crew that was performing some type of operation and they needed a piece of equipment or a truck, I would, potentially step in. Again, not the best use of my time ordinarily, sitting behind the wheel of a truck or a piece of equipment, but if the situation arises and you need to get the job done, run a piece of equipment, drive a truck, shuttle a piece of equipment or a truck around to keep the flow.
Do you have any questions for us?
I guess the only questions that I have, again, I did a little bit of research into the history of the department, and the position I know was posted as the highway surveyor's position. Is there still some move towards consolidating some of the departments, or is the highway surveyor, does that spill over into some of the other responsibilities within the town?
Basically, sir, the way we're set up now, the highway superintendent is in charge of everything except water and sewer.
Okay.
Sat parks, cemeteries, municipal buildings,
Trees.
tree warden,
Parks, tree
Rail
ward,
trail.
yeah, rail
Buildings.
trail, like,
Buildings and grounds.
Oh, that reminds me, there's a tree down by the paper mill on the right. We'll get my change.
so you'd be in charge of just about everything except water sewer. There's a separate superintendent, separate enterprise funds for that, but you can speak probably better, they generally work together. Like, if they need help, we sometimes send a couple of highway guys over to help. If they get a piece of equipment, we can borrow it.
Someone that could continue the progress we've made in having good interaction between those three departments, highway, water, and sewer,
Yeah.
would be a good candidate as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Because we have made some progress. We tried a DPW, it didn't quite make it through town meeting. It depends on, it's the selectmen's call at this point or someone else's call at this point, but we have, as a fact, I think an important after effect of that try was that there's better communication and there seems to be a better level of understanding and workflow between all those departments, so
Sure. Okay.
that has to continue.
Yeah, from the report I saw or read, that I see that there was a study that was done a couple of years ago, and it looked like that was the case, but just curious. So thank you.
I have one question, one more question, Mr. Chair. Well, comment and a question, as I like to dig down and look around. Looks like you came full circle. You started at RH White, now you're back at RH White.
Yeah, so I actually worked for one season after I was taking some college courses, and I worked for them one season as a laborer's helper.
So when you were 107, did you do a lot of work with the tile guys at Kesley?
The carpenters, not, some with the tile guys, but some with, mostly with carpentry.
'Cause my cousin worked at Kesley for about 30 years. Eddie Fabro, he was
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I know.
one of their big tile guys.
Sure. I know
All
that.
right, interesting, small world.
Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You good, Mr. Johnson?
Good.
Well,
Wanna
we're
talk
good,
about
Mr. Murray. Thank you very much for coming by.
You want to talk about a time frame with them?
What is the time frame, Mr. Ruda?
The time frame is what the selectmen say the time frame is.
Well,
It depends on how tonight goes. If you have any follow-up questions, you're welcome to reach out to me directly. Obviously, don't contact any of the selectmen. We're not in any, we're not gonna take any steps to delay this process, so, the next step would be, you'd receive a call back at some point if you're the successful candidate, and we'd have you come in again and have a further discussion. And, we're running into snow season, so.
Sure.
It won't be something that we sit on endlessly if we find the right candidate.
It actually looks like Friday is the beginning of snow season.
Yep.
That's it. What?
My last winter. is-
Brief, yeah.
Not that, we all know that it doesn't snow on
Right.
Halloween, right?
Yeah,
A couple of years ago,
before it.
we were out of power for a week,
Yeah.
several years ago.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Murray.
Very much.
Thank you.
We're being recorded still, correct?
Yeah.
I want to make sure everyone knew.
Adam is next.
Who's next?
Adam. Are they all just sitting out there?
Excuse me. Coffee? Where? I'm good right now. I'm good.
How are ya?
Sir?
Hey,
How are you?
Good, good.
Adam?
Yes,
Excellent. Thank you for joining us tonight.
absolutely.
What we're gonna do, we're gonna ask you, we're asking, you can sit.
Okay,
you
all
can
right.
sit. You can stand later, but you can sit now.
Okay.
We've got 9 questions we're going to ask you. It's the same questions we ask everybody. There's no funny stuff at all here.
Okay.
And that's it.
Yeah, it's the same questions of all
Yeah,
candidates.
that's what I said, I thought.
Just clarifying.
Didn't make it through the plexiglass?
No, I heard it.
Just checking.
The same question.
We're good with the same? I'm just gonna rattle these off.
Do you mind if I take this off, or is that?
That's fine.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Just-
Just so you can see my face, I feel like.
Well, there's no questions here about that, but
Some people want bigger masks over here, but we can't make them wear them. Sorry, Mr. Trump.
all right, so tell us about yourself, your education, experience, and interest in this position. What would your last supervisor say about your performance?
Let me try to break that apart, I guess.
That's the whole point of the question.
Myself, I have been in the public service for my adult life. This position, I've always, this is like the crown that I've been going after for a while now. My father was a superintendent and director, so he's kind of like my mentor. I always wanted to do what he did, and what was is there any way I could read that? Do you have
Tell
like
us, well, that's part of the question. Tell us about yourself, your education, experience, and interest in this position.
Okay, so my experience is I started at a young age, I always kind of went to school after high school, and so for my summer jobs, I went to Martha's Vineyard. I worked at the airport. I worked at the sewer treatment plant in Southbridge, and Northampton, DPW. And then after going to school, I worked in Sherborne Highway Department, and that's when I started to pick up on things, I guess you'd say. And then I got closer home, went to Rutland, learned the majority of what I know today in Rutland. All those gentlemen are quite knowledgeable. And after spending quite some time there, I went to the state. I was able to find a position in the state where I am today, out of Sturbridge. My education was out of Quincy. I got a associate's in business, and tried to get my bachelor's. I did not succeed. After being employed with the highway department, I think it was my last semester of college was I think in 2015 when we had those consecutive blizzards, and I was taking night classes, and I said that was it, so but I was making a decent living with the DPW, so I decided to make it my career, or whatever you'd call it.
Okay. Anyone have anything? Nope. Explain how your education and experience matches the job description.
Okay. Well, my education, I primarily took a decent amount of management classes. I've always been pretty good with people, and accounting, financial stuff. That was all part of the business program. In my experience, I've been working at highway departments most of my adult life, and whatever snow and ice, cutting down trees, working with sewage and water, drainage. I've laid pipe in the ground. I've dug trenches. I've been in manholes 30 feet deep into the road. I've found myself in many hairy situations, and I'm still one piece. The last 2 years I've been plowing on the pike. With a 5-ton and a wing, and that gets hairy out there too. So
I bet.
Sounds like fun.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Sullivan.
Mr. Keller, under your, on your resume, under truck driver, heavy equipment operator, town of Rutland,
yes,
you list yourself as truck driver, heavy equipment operator, but third one down, you supervise road construction and maintenance. Can you expand on that a little bit? Did you supervise a crew? Did you supervise the actual, I see some from your resume, you have construction drawing experience.
yes. So I've worked with. I've always had to, in different situations, I've had to look at construction drawings. I've taken a Bay State Scholars class, Road Scholars class on construction drawings. And as far as supervisor experience, like my superiors would put me in charge of the project we're doing, if he wasn't there.
So you weren't like the foreman per se, but you were picked by your supervisor?
Right, I didn't take, right, exactly, so.
Okay. Just wanted to clear that up myself, thank you.
Okay. What licenses or certifications do you have relative to this position?
I have my Class B with the air endorsement, the tankers endorsement. I have my 2B and my 4G. I also, I think, it might have expired, but I had my OSHA 10. I got that a couple of years ago, so I haven't checked it.
There you go. That's fine. Okay, good. Next up, please expand upon your managerial experience, including budgeting and employee management, specifically as it relates to collective bargaining personnel.
Well, with budgeting.
Yeah, we're looking for managerial experience, including budgeting and employee management, specifically as it relates to collective bargaining personnel. Any of that apply? I didn't see any of that in your resume.
No, but as far as collective bargaining, do you mean dealing?
Like negotiating a union contract with
unions,
the union. Not
right.
being in the union, but being outside negotiating as a manager.
I can't say I have any direct experience dealing with unions. Have I been to meetings? Yes. But as far as representing a group as a whole, no.
Okay. This next one you'll like. Please expand upon your municipal experience and how it relates to this position.
Okay, all right.
Okay, told you you'd like it.
Well, working at DPWs, I have always kind of being the, maybe the young guy out of the group. I've always, kind of, you learn a lot that way. But I've learned a lot with, every day I'm learning. I know every piece of equipment is different, but I've ran almost everything, and I've always took it to the limit. I've always practiced everything.
Okay.
I like being out in the snowstorms. I always see the snowstorm through.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so.
Anyone have anything? Nope. Describe a time when you dealt with a stressful situation. How did you manage your emotions?
Referring to like a conflict, employee conflict.
Stressful situation.
Just a stressful situation.
Think about a stressful situation you were in and tell us how you managed your emotions.
Okay.
Could have been a line at Walmart, could have been at work, whatever.
Whatever
gets you stressed.
I'm pretty cool, calm, and collective. Right now, I'm a little stressed.
Yeah, calm down, you're fine.
Interviews aren't easy. We know.
Yeah, right.
We get it, it's okay.
But yeah, I'm usually pretty cool, calm, and collective. I never get mad in traffic. I'm, but if I can think
of something, I would say, I remember one time, off the top of my head, it was during the winter, and the foreman in Rutland would always be pretty harder on me than most. And I think it was, I broke up with my my ex-girlfriend, and it was in the winter, and I think he laid on me for something, whether it was not picking up my phone the first time, or one instance, and going through a breakup. I mean, I almost broke down and cried right then and there, but I held it together, I bit my tongue, and I went out there and plowed, and that was tough. That was tough. I just wanted to go in there and scream at him, but I hold composure. I am cool, calm, and collective, and I always hold myself to that degree.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Sullivan.
So, Mr. Keller, I'm going to give you a situation for you, you're the superintendent. There's a pretty big storm coming in. You got all the guys in the barn. I'm not supposed to call it a barn, garage.
B-A-H-N, barn.
And, yeah. And you got one guy kind of chirping at you about what plow route am I going to be doing. You got another guy in the background. He's got a situation at home, maybe with his kids. And one of the other operators is missing, we'll say, a brake light or a mirror. Well, what order would you prioritize solving those problems?
Well, with the person not knowing what route he would have, I think that would be discussed in the very early, before it snowed. I think every employee with plowing should have their routes laid out. Everyone should know what routes they're doing, what sand routes, salt routes they're doing, and it shouldn't even be a question. So that would be number one. The guy having problems with his kids, or what?
Or like something at home, maybe something just upset
Something at home that's bothering him. I could always take a moment aside. I don't like to poke and pry, but we have a job to do. But if I would like to think, as a superintendent, employees could come and talk to me at any point in time, and kind of vent, as you will, so we could get the job done. And then the last one?
Like maybe a piece of broken equipment, could be a blinker or a mirror on one of the vehicles.
Well, I'd like to think, if that happened during a storm, or you come in for a storm and that problem is there, I think as the snow is falling, I think you have plenty of time to kind of go through and fix those minor adjustments. Whether, I don't know if the guys take their plows off or not, or, but, I always thought of, when I get called in for a storm, you check the truck, and you always find those little problems. And then you fix them, and then you go on,
All right, thank you.
Anyone have anything else?
Nope.
How do you organize and prioritize your workload?
Workload, as in, like assets, or workload as in like...
Workload, your daily work.
I guess the example, if you're the superintendent of the highway department, there's 7 things that need to be done that day. Some could be a safety issue, some could be the selectman has a pothole in front of his house. How do you look at the work that needs to be done in front of you and decide what's important and what's not? The pothole is a joke. You don't fill a pothole
Well,
in front of the
I didn't
It's
want
a
to go
trick
there.
question. He doesn't live on a
I didn't
road.
want to go there.
Should give him a check.
Yeah.
I'm not condoning a pothole.
You're gonna end up on Facebook, man.
It's gonna happen anyway.
Nasty speed bumps. Johnson's potholes.
It's the exact opposite. It was a bump with a hole.
Root is done.
Sorry, I derailed the conversation with a dumb
Well,
example.
we gave him some time to relax. You're fine. Nobody's taking away your birthday. Just relax and
All right.
Well, your anniversary.
you're still gonna get a cake and all that good stuff. Don't worry about it.
Well, I like to think I can differ from what's important and what's not. If I have a list of issues, all important, you still got to divvy them up. I got a certain amount of employees. Some guys take care of this, some guys take care of that. You can get a lot done in one day. But I think it's a tough question because I'd really like to know what different types of, I don't know. But I think as superintendent, I think, checking the emails, I think anything that has to do with police or fire, I think, I would take care of. But also having the guys know what they're doing during the day. So I don't know how well the departments communicate. I don't know how well the water department communicates with the highway department. Is that something you guys could tell me about?
If you get hired, you'll find out real quick.
There's a lot of communication goes back.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Water sewer is separate. They're enterprise, they have their own superintendent. Highway superintendent's basically in charge of everything else.
Yep.
Beaches, grounds, roads, buildings.
Tree warden. Cemeteries.
Do they share equipment or?
Yeah. Each department has their own, but there's been times where highway department might send a couple guys over to help water sewer, and there's been times you might borrow a piece of equipment from them to complete the task.
Okay.
So I think what Mr. Johnson was trying to get at, part of that is how would you prioritize, in what manner would you prioritize? Like, are you I don't want to give any answers or any help. Like, are you a writer down, or like you have like a pad in your truck all the time writing things down?
Oh, yes.
You're
I always.
smarter than me and have like a little iPad that you kind of update.
Right. Yeah. No, I have a little pad. I got several little pads and yeah, you go on from there. I mean,
nobody babysits anybody, but we expect the town administrator to be in the loop a lot as part of that communication. Check in periodically, not every hour, every day, but because some things crop up through our office that you might not get an email on right away. So I guess just kind of keep track of the day as it goes along.
Everybody good? Here's Mr. Ruta's favorite. Tell us about your experiences with successfully obtaining grant funding. Have you ever obtained grant funding in any of these positions you were at?
No, I have not, but I do know a decent amount. I know Maya and I think it's regional, the Worcester Regional. I can't remember the name. But I know you get grant funding through them, through a process. And I have went to length looking through the chapter 90.
Okay. Anybody have anything? Last one. Share a time when you willingly took on additional responsibilities or challenges. How did you successfully meet all of the demands of these responsibilities?
Well, I would like to think I took care of all the responsibilities. Working for the state, you know, they trust their employees a great deal. They tell you to do something, you go do it. No one's there watching you. You could go home early half the day, and no one would know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and I'm there, and I'm working, and I do what I'm told. I do extra, you know, as far as my responsibilities, you know, I let's refer to snow and ice. I think it's super important to keep those roads clean, and I always see the storm through. I always answer my phone. I'm always available. If I were the Dudley superintendent, I would make the barn my second home. I would be there all the time. I would make sure things were handled and done in a reasonable time.
Great. Does anybody have anything?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just have a question. Again, Mr. Keller, going back to under your experience, third one down, you said you took a lead role in restoration of the Sturbridge Highway Depot. Now that sounds, and then you list yourself again as an equipment operator. Could you expound on that a little bit? Because that seems something that might be outside the normal scope of an equipment operator.
Right. Well, when I first got there, the place was in shambles. You went back into the tool section where all the hardware was, or it hadn't been touched since probably the early 90s. There was so much rust and decay in there, just from a lack of people not doing anything. I went in there, and it wasn't my job to do it, but I did it. I went in there, I organized everything, went through every tool. When I first went there wasn't any power tools. Now we got backpack blowers, we got every screw gun, we've got, everything you need. It's organized, you can find things, it's locked and secured. There wasn't even a place to sit down and have your lunch. There weren't any cabinets in there. I turned a bay, I was able to get cabinets. I put cabinets in the wall, painted the walls. There's now a common space for the few workers there. And that's what I mean by restoration. I mean, it is now a workable depot because of the effort I put in.
Mr. Chair, if I can follow up?
Yes, Mr. Sullivan.
So how were you able to acquire all that equipment, cabinets? Was that something you had to
Well, it's my relationship with the foreman out of Oxford. With his help, I was able to get equipment there. They recently tore down the old MassDOT building off on Belmont Street next to the hospital. I was able to get some like they had recently put like cabinets in there, and I was able to get in there before they tore down the buildings and took those cabinets out. And I was able to, you know, put them in a dump truck and get them there and put them in myself.
Thank you.
Mr. Morris.
Just to follow up on that, that also answers question 9, right, a little bit better, right? You took on additional responsibilities and challenges, so that was.
Oh, okay,
that's nice
good.
that you did that for you and your coworkers, right?
That's what I was hoping to kind of win.
Yeah.
It did. Well,
Yeah, it did. No, I saw.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well done. Well answered.
Anyone else, anything? Do you have any questions of us?
I think so. I think so.
You do?
Yeah, well, I know, I did a Google search on down Dudley. I saw that there was a conflict with an employee one time, where there was like someone hit someone. Are there more conflicts, or is everything settled within the department?
Personnel, kind of a personnel matter, but yes, there hasn't been any subsequent incidents that have reached our level.
Or else you might have been able to find those on Google too. They're still going live.
Yes, the previous town administrator handled it in conjunction with the board, and we haven't had any issues since.
Okay. Now, does the water handle, like do they put their own pipes in? If they
Yes.
break?
Yeah.
Yeah, they fix them.
Although there is a lot of cross, if they need help.
Depends on the size of the job.
Right, the size of the job, we might send a couple guys over to help them. Maybe a piece of equipment they don't have, or they might need more. And
Okay.
they don't send manpower so much to us, but they will send equipment if we need it and they have it. But they generally handle their own unless it's a big job, and then guys will get called in to help.
Okay.
You wouldn't be, I guess maybe Mr. Ruder could expound, but you wouldn't be supervising a water break.
Nope.
Unless the water superintendent was out of town and they just couldn't handle it and somebody had to go in. But generally, you wouldn't handle their work and they wouldn't handle yours, but you might cross you guys back and forth.
Oh, okay. So, but as far as, so does the water department take care of drainage?
No, that falls under you.
Right.
Follow the highway.
Yeah.
Go through the annual report every year.
Stormwater management,
Right, stormwater management every year.
catch basins, et cetera.
Yeah, that's all you. Catch basin cleaning.
Yeah, catch basin.
Dams.
Yep, dams.
Not a lot of beaver.
Basically everything except water and sewer. If you can think of something, Dudley Highway does it. I mean, they built the mailroom downstairs for town hall in this place. So a couple of the guys like you seems like pretty handy. They came in and built it. Not part of their job when they get hired, but you know what they had to
Right,
say.
yeah, it's kinda, yeah, it's all over the place. So how long have you gentlemen, are you guys all residents of Dudley? Or you have to be a selectman, I take
We're
it?
all elected, so we have to be a resident.
Okay. Now, is it a problem that I live a few towns over?
No, because we didn't have mileage on there. I mean, the only problem would be how quick you could get here, but you've indicated you'd put the time in. If you know there's a storm coming, maybe you wouldn't go home for an hour, just stay.
Right, right.
East Brookfield's about 40 minutes, I guess.
Yes. I am moving to I'm currently building a house in Sturbridge. I should have the foundation, well, it's taken a while, but I am moving to Sturbridge, so it is a little closer.
I mean, I don't know, Mr. Chair, I mean, like, if there's a big storm coming, I mean, obviously you would plan ahead. Like I said, you wouldn't go home probably if you know you're gonna be back.
Right,
Because that superintendent does plow, like he has.
Right,
Plows
yeah.
with a pickup, he does a small, he'll do the parking lots.
yeah,
the library.
I'd be kind of bummed out if I didn't get the plow.
I'm gonna get the next
But you're
gentleman
still
queued up.
supervising
Right.
the whole operation. It gets
Right.
kinda hectic.
Right.
Anything else?
I mean, I could probably keep going.
Well, we've got some more we're interviewing tonight, so.
Want to give him a brief update on the timeline?
Sure. So if you have any questions that come up after you leave here, you could reach out to Michelle or to
Okay.
me, selectmen@dudleyma.gov. It's the same email that you use to apply to. Don't reach out to any members of the Board of Selectmen directly.
Okay,
And the timeline is, we're looking at a November retirement, so if we find the correct candidate, then we'll move on it, and, there won't be any delay.
okay. Do you plan on doing like a second round, or is that?
If the candidate is chosen, we would obviously have that candidate come in and,
Okay,
depending on what it's narrowed down, so we'd have the candidate come in a second time.
cool. All right, well, thank you, gentlemen, for your time. I
Thank you.
appreciate the opportunity to sit down with you today.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Nice to
I
meet
hope
you.
I could answer your questions, okay,
You did well. You did well.
Thanks, it's nice to meet you, Adam.
Yeah, you too, thank you.
Yep. Good luck with your house.
Yeah.
I'll need it.
It's not a lot of fun. It's not a lot of fun building a house.
I always wanted to.
Leslie, want
Go, powder my nose.
I do.
Do you want to start? I do too, but go ahead.
I'll start. Oh, there it is.
Away from the stuff.
Oh, I got the list in front of me, huh?
We're gonna have to wait anyway.
Huh?
You have to wait anyway.
Yeah, I can't.
How about two of them leaving?
Good evening.
Sir,
Good evening.
two of
Have
our,
a seat, make yourself comfortable.
yeah, you got a minute. Two of our members stepped out for a minute.
Thank you. I don't blame him. It's been a long evening for you, huh?
Yeah, been worse.
Hey, at least it's not your anniversary.
Listen, 24 years, it's not even like a real number. Next year will be the big one. You can take next year off.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, him, not me. You can take next year off.
I'll let my wife know that.
I'll text her right now and tell her.
Yeah.
The former chairman said it's okay.
There was a second and everything, it's all official, it's okay.
Yep.
Let me do the basic stuff. So you're gonna get a set of questions that everyone's been asked the same questions. Out of fairness, it's and then there'll be some follow-ups if, something specific comes up in the conversation that's interesting or, we need further information on.
Very well.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it streamlined and fair, like same order. Like Mr. Johnson said, if something pops up, you might get an individual question, or you can expound back.
Okay. That sounds fair.
And at the end, we'll talk about, any questions from you, and then, talk about timeline and stuff like that.
Okay.
Hi, Russell. Nice to meet you. Sorry we had some.
Don't be sorry, it's okay.
It's been a long
I
night.
understand.
All right, we're down to just
Circumstances
one
ways.
missing, so I think I can start.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
told you, go ahead.
Tell me, go ahead. All right,
Although you're the vice
it's like a multi-part question. Tell us about yourself, your education, experience, and interest in this position. And what would your last supervisor say about your performance?
Okay, as far as growing up in a working environment, my dad worked at GM in the Framingham area of Massachusetts as a child. He got laid off, it was a big thing, and he ended up getting hired into AT Cross. So at that point, I understood the values of working. At 17 years old, a gentleman down the street from me was an installer for sewer and septic systems throughout the town of Cumberland. That's where I grew up, and right now I reside in the town of Lincoln, which at 18 years old I met my wife, still my wife, and here we are, and one of my beautiful child lives right here in Dudley, so this was what brought me to see the opportunity into Dudley. As far as the job, I had gotten hired as a trash picker back down in 1989 for the town of Lincoln. And I've since crawled up the ladder from being the trash picker to going to the driver of the truck to being a light equipment operator, which operates all the machineries throughout the town, which includes the vac truck, which is part of the sewer jet system, if you're familiar with that. And then on the side, I help another gentleman doing sewer and septic installations. And then a position came up, which was assistant supervisor position, which was last year. So I took that position because I am one of the team players and I can get along with the guys at work and the people of the town. So I felt that obligation that I have it in me that I could do that. And without a doubt, I jumped in. I said, you know, I'd be willing to take a chance and see how I like that position with working with the town. And as far as the staff and all the faculty of the town, I love my job right now as an assistant supervisor. Would I like to move up and benefit another town? Absolutely. I mean, you gotta look at the perspective and what do you wanna do in life? You wanna bring things, you wanna make a difference. If you can change somebody and say, hey, this guy did a great job, but you know, give him a chance, or that guy is very good in the town, and as a public works director or whoever the director is, if you have a director, or is it the supervisor that takes on that position, you're willing to have your door open and accept questions, delegate between the employees of the town. Sometimes there's issues with union bargaining and stuff like that, so I'm
We got a
open.
question about that coming up.
I was gonna say, you
I'm
just
open.
answered 4 questions.
Sorry about the mask coming down. You start talking and it moves.
That's
No,
all
that's
right.
okay.
Go ahead.
Explain how your education experience matches the job description.
Okay, so I did vocational school, which is more of a hands-on in high school. So that's where I picked up my morals and values of working in the trade and getting my hands-on and just going in and doing it, and willing to, open-minded to, if I could learn something, I would learn it. If I could show somebody something, I would show it to them. Like, right now, there's a gentleman that's going for his heavy equipment operator's license with his driving the loader and the excavator for the town. So he wasn't aware of how to operate it, and I pulled him aside. I said, this is how you're gonna do it. And he passed it, so that was great for him. So right there alone, you know, I felt so good, you know, helping a young kid out and seeing him on his road, you know, to future himself, because he's moving up on the ladder like I was, so.
Mr. Johnson, may I follow up?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So, on your resume, you kind of cleared it up for me, because I was going to ask you how you had like 4 jobs current. But you explained it by working, helping your friend, you said. So I guess I should probably know this, but I really don't. How does your licenses in Rhode Island transfer to Massachusetts?
I would go to the DMV and transfer them all over. They give you so many days when you move, and if so, you move, you transfer them all over. It's the same thing with the operations, with the loader operating, and it's the same thing. You have to go to the Department of Labor and Training and switch that over. They offer you so many days grant. You set an appointment with the registry for the regular CDL license.
Right.
And then you also with the operation of the excavator license.
So would, if I may, Mr. Johnson, so would you continue to hold a Rhode Island license simultaneously?
No, because if the job came up, I would make a move. I wouldn't transfer. It's 35 miles one way. I wouldn't.
Right.
And on top of that, it's just to be part of the town, you want to be close to the town. If not living in the town, you're on call 24/7. I get calls in the middle of the night. Before the guys get there to work, I'm there. You know, I put the lights on, they don't put the lights on, and that's not my job, but it's just my feeling for them, you know. I want them to be ready. They're coming in to cut up a tree. They're coming in to go sand. The light switch is on, the doors are all open, the security gate is open. That's my job. That's what, and as far as that goes, I'm one of those sticklers. I'm up first thing in the morning. I can be here till midnight, and I'll be able to get up
You're doing great.
6 o'clock in the morning and go, ready.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry.
No,
As far as, one of the other jobs is, I also work at IDS, which is a highway safety at night. Part-time, I help somebody. I also hold a union Teamster card for the state of Rhode Island, and which, doing that job is, you gotta be very ready to go at any time. So what driving a crash truck is the arrow when you're approaching a construction zone, and it's telling the people which way to go, where they gotta go. And at the end of the night, we pick it all up in a safety way, working with the police. Yeah, at the beginning, you have your meeting, you go over all the safety issues.
and that was my second question, Mr. Johnson, if I may. As assistant superintendent, I would assume you're not in the union anymore?
No, I'm not in the laborers union anymore.
When you listed Local 1033, that's to work on that second position? You have to be in the union to work that job?
Teamster is 251, that's the driver for the
All right, so 1033 was what you used to be in?
laborers union
Okay.
international, yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
What licenses or certifications do you have relative to this position?
I also, I have my hoist engineer's license, which is operating any heavy excavating machinery. I also have my CDL license. I also have my first aid, my EMT. What else? I have my agricultural license to spray pesticides. I also have my OSHA 10 card. I also have my MISHA card, which is mine safety. If you're aware of mine safety, confined space, so forth.
French, yeah. Please expand upon your managerial experience, including budgeting and employee management, specifically as it relates to collective bargaining personnel.
Okay, as far as the bargaining goes, it goes on the town. What is the issue between bargaining and what are they bargaining for? If it's to compromise and to talk about it prior to listening to what they have to say in the bargaining, we have to present to the employees what they want to come up with for a solution, or go to the arbitration.
Any follow-up?
Yeah, have you sat, I guess to expound on it, have you sat on either side of the table up close? Like, were you part of the union negotiating team ever, or as assistant superintendent, you sit down and try to hammer out the agreement?
No, in fact, I was on the other side of the table prior to it, negotiation team for the Laborers International side of it, because of the benefit package that they wanted to cut on us. And we just said, you know, we've given all of this, and we decided not to take that pay raise that year for that. But the following year was when it was, we had to arbitrate it and fight it. But it was only because of the issue being, that was the only time I was on that side of the table. I was on the laborers' side of the table, because they wanted to take away our benefits, which was key. And also, like I said, we would sit down and talk about what we were gonna present, and I wasn't on the side what spoke out in front, but we negotiated with our man.
Thank you.
And one other follow-up, Mr. Johnson. So budgeting, like setting your yearly budget, are you, as in your assistant superintendent role, are you working with the superintendent and the rest of the town to?
We work with yes, we also have a Public Works Director.
Okay.
And he sets all, where the monies are funded for such and such a project. If that project is funded, how much it's funded. It goes the same as far as any kind of purchase that we make. He draws the final line. If we can't spend that money, we work around his budget that he has. The same thing with the budget board. Whatever they have on the table for us is presented to us, and this is all you can spend. You can't spend any more, unless under the circumstances we have an emergency, such as we've had a tornado in the town of Lincoln. I don't know if you heard about that. 5 years ago, I was working for the town then. I wasn't on administrative side of it, but, yeah, we went through it. I was a guy standing there with the chainsaw cutting up trees for 12 hours to blaze a trail for the people to get in and out of their houses and for the fire department to get to their houses, because we had issues with gas and so forth in the plat that it was.
So, one other thing, does Rhode Island have an equivalent of Chapter 90, like for road funding?
Yeah, they do have certain funding that, what, they usually grant a town, city and town so much money.
Right.
Right now, it's on hold, so we can't even use that, so we're kind of digging into our budget from the past year, because last year wasn't a bad snow season, of course, you just know that, for us anyways, but here was a little more, but not as bad. So we kind of had a little bit more in our budget from the previous, so right now, in all our roads, in our basin work, in our manholes, in our structures, in our culverts, are kind of deteriorating a little bit. We'd like to try and get back on them and stay on a good schedule of replacing, repairing, and fixing as needed on a to-do list from a grade level on what the conditions are of them structures.
On that same topic, please expand upon your municipal experience and how it relates to this position.
Well, like I said, my municipal experience working for the town and just carrying it on, I would just take another step up that ladder as far as that goes, and do the best I can and work with who I have to work with. As far as people under me, I would work with them and let them understand this is how it is. You gotta do it, you gotta follow the rules of the town, and that's the town ordinance, the town charter, however you have it worded. And that's the game you play. You have to really pay attention to that part of it, because it's not just the folks that are in charge of the town, it's all the town constituent, all the people throughout the whole town. That's what they look forward to. They want to see that person up front and doing his job. They don't want to see the guy sitting at the donut shop and not doing his job, driving around. Like, I would bring that forth to all the guys. That was the biggest thing. That 15-minute break thing in the morning, it don't work with me. It don't. You take your 15 minutes, that's fine. Your 15 minutes kind of starts when you leave the job. So you get your coffee and you carry on. Don't sit there. That was big with me as a worker. As a town taxpayer, I don't want to see that. If you know what I'm saying, I'm sure you've heard people calling and people complaining about it.
Oh, we're aware.
It's one of those issues that it's set up in my mind that I feel bad for a lot of the taxpayers, because if they feel like they're getting ripped off, they say it to you. You tell the employee, but yet they're entitled to their 15-minute break, so that's like almost like a fight. I just bring them aside and say, look, do me a favor. Just get your coffee and carry on. And it's been working so far. So this has been a year and it's working, so this is a good thing.
Wow.
I'm happy with that.
Describe a time when you dealt with a stressful situation. How did you manage your emotions?
Well, I took a deep breath and I pulled the gentleman aside and I said, listen, 7 o'clock, you have to stop working. Not 7 o'clock is punch-in time, driving in the parking lot at 7 o'clock. We need to make this efficient. That's all I ask. That was one of the stressful times, because this highway superintendent brought it to me, this guy keeps coming in late, this guy keeps coming in late. Let me talk to him, see if I can do this, see if we can work this out, iron it out. Please, can you do this for me? That's all I'm asking for you. I was once one of your workers, I was your co-worker. Think about this. Would you want to be a taxpayer? You sitting in the parking lot waiting to talk to the public works director, and this guy comes whipping in right at 7 o'clock when he's getting paid starting at 7 o'clock. So that was one of my issues that I had. I brought to the employee, and it got resolved. So I was happy with that. It was a very stressful situation because I had the hammer down from the superintendent that was sitting in the parking lot.
Mr. Johnson, I would follow up. Mr. Joseph's not here tonight, but one question he would have asked is going from being one of the guys to the assistant super role, how was that transition, and, you know, the people, how do they respond to you?
They have accepted me. They know my rules. They know how I am public relations wise. They know how I am as a worker. And even now as a supervisor, I can still touch a shovel. So if they're not doing it right, I can kind of grab the shovel and say, look, you remember how to shovel, right? You know, because sometimes they get that bad name, and I don't want that to carry through the town, not if I'm in charge. Absolutely not. I'm one of those people, if you have to do a job, please do it. And as far as that goes, I'll be the first guy that'll say, you don't know how to run that machine, you want to learn? I'll be the guy that steps up on a ladder and says, get in the machine. I'll climb up on a ladder and say, this is what you're gonna do. This is how we do it.
Mr. Johnson, I'm gonna give you a quick scenario. If you're superintendent, it's a big storm, snowstorm's rolling in, you're in the garage, you got one guy kind of chirping in the background about family stuff at home with his kids maybe. You got another guy kind of chirping at you, what route am I doing now? And you got another guy coming up to you saying, hey, a blinker's ripped off the side of my truck or the mirror. How would you prioritize, how would you handle those three situations at once?
Okay, I take it into consideration, first of all, a gentleman that has family issues. What kind of family issues are they? Is somebody seriously sick at home? You know, if the child's sick, how sick is the child? Do I know it really? I don't. Is he bluffing it, or is he serious? The second thing is, the blinker can be on the back burner. During an issue with the snowstorm and its priority, as long as the lights work and your hazards work, a blinker, it could work if the hazards aren't working, you know? If the chances are, if the hazards are working, we're okay. Put your hazards on, that's how you're gonna drive. A blinker can be fixed. That's the back of the burner. I'm not worried about that. That would be on the bottom of my priority list. As far as the guy chirping in the background, I'm gonna ask him, is there an issue with anything? Are you not happy with your plow route? What's the matter with your plow route? Or is it all hills? I've been there and I sanded all hills all my life, you know? It gets old fast, but I'm gonna tell you one thing. You're looking out for the safety and well-being of your neighbors. You're looking out for the safety and well-being of people. At the end of the day, if everybody makes it through the storm, it's a good job, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
And one other follow-up. Do you guys also have a foreman in you guys in Lincoln structure, or you're the de facto foreman as well?
So that was my light equipment. That is considered a foreman. That is considered the foreman as a light equipment operator. You delegate a small crew. So I want to say, so we make a soccer field. This is one of the examples. This is what we're gonna do. The guy that's light equipment operator, so he runs the dump truck. The heavy equipment operator runs the loader. Here's the land we're gonna clear right here, that it's town-owned land. They want a soccer field, this is how it's gonna be. Here's the money we have the material already stockpiled. We're gonna make a soccer field. That's what they want. We're gonna make that soccer field for them. So, in turn, the job that was where I am at that time was light equipment. I'd get in a truck, I'd go down there, what do we need? This is what we need, okay, perfect. Delegated. Like I said, you have to go through what monies you have to spend it the right way, and so forth. If the Public Works Director says, oh, you can only spend so much money here, don't go over budget. Okay, this is what we're gonna do for now. Make it safe, but still could carry on to the following fiscal year, you know, and whatever monies you need to spend at that point, you can go to the next year. But usually they make a little opportunity. They give you that little point where they take into consideration how important is this field, you know? So this wasn't that important, so they put it off, and the field's still, it's all done, ready to go. They just wanna make sure that the final outline of it's what they call the perimeter, the buffer zone, if you're familiar with that. It's like a 10-foot buffer that goes around the property. They wanna make sure that the bushes are all there, it's settled, because it's abutting the people's property.
I think I'm on 7.
Yep.
Talked a little bit about this already, but how do you organize and prioritize your workload?
Okay, it goes by the people above me, what they consider most important. Whoever is the gentleman, the town administrator, the town manager, and they make the rules. I just follow what their rules are. If they say, hey, there's 4 or 5 potholes down on Main Road, can you just throw some in there, you know, and get it taken care of? And I'll try and manage that as being a priority, because if there's 4 or 5 in one area, it's kind of an issue depending on if it's the main road. If it's on the side road, well, I can put it on the back burner because there's a tree overhanging another road on another street. You prioritize your issues, I understand, and go from there. If the police have a big hole in the road or an accident and they have issues, you need to close a road for them. You know, they gotta do some measurements or whatnot. You come across I mean, there's all kinds of things that can happen in a day. You don't know until it comes to you and you say, what a great candidate. He stepped right up to the plate, hit the home run, you know?
Tell us about your experiences with successfully obtaining grant funding.
Well, so as far as the grant funding goes, I can mention, because we have what they call a town planner. So we mention what we need, and the town planner will do that. Part of the funding, as far as the grants go from state, federal, whatnot. I do know that as far as the federal grant that we had gotten, which goes towards the roads and bridges in the state, you know, that affects our town because we need some to fix the roads and the bridges. But as far as that goes, I never had my hands into it, involved in it. The town planner actually does all of that himself. And we just mentioned to it what would be the best thing and how much money would go to that road, that highway, that bridge, so forth. Again, you're numbering them off, what grants to go for and who you're gonna go after for the grant. Like if it's a state, it would be a different issue, but the government the roads and bridges are the biggest thing right now, if you're aware of it. The state of Rhode Island has the worst roads and bridges in the country.
Mr. Johnson, so do you have any experience, once somebody else successfully gets the grant, I know you've been assistant superintendent for about 1.5 years, but do you have any experience administering a grant? Like when they come to you, for example, they say, we just got X number of dollars, part of it goes towards administering the grant. You, as part of your experience, you have to keep things like that separate, or that doesn't get to you? Does that go to your DPW director?
Yeah, so we get a purchase requisition form, and on that purchase requisition form, you fill out that purchase requisition form, and it says, and you put in parentheses for federal funding for the aid, which comes from the federal grant, which they have it. You just put it in parentheses, you pass it on, and it goes into the purchasing agent for the town, because we have a purchasing agent that takes care of all the, as far as the monies go from that they take the money for that grant, or whatever monies that come from the grant, they just deduct that from the requisition. Say we do a project, a big thing in town over near Lincoln Woods in the state is Chase Farm. If you ever heard of Chase Farm, it's right off the beautiful historic Great Road down there. So we get federal grant money for that. So that's called Park and Rec. It's not Highway Department, it's Park and Rec. So what they'll do, we'll write Chase Farm, and then they'll submit that to the grant money. They built a new concession stand out up at that park, and that was just last year. So I'm familiar with that, and that's what I was told whenever we get that, and it goes for that grant money. So that goes, I fill out the requisition form. It's a little white paper with a duplicate, and we pass that in to which is the purchasing department.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Share a time when you willingly took on additional responsibilities or challenges. How did you successfully meet all the demands on these responsibilities?
So, what was it? It was August 4th, and we had a huge windstorm. Familiar with it? August 4th. We had trees down all through the town. The supervisor was nowhere. He's on vacation at the Cape. Couldn't make it.
Sounds like Dean with the talk.
Here I was. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna delegate. 4 guys north, 4 guys south. This is what you're gonna do. You're running the saw, you're running the saw that side. You're laboring that side. You got the dump truck that side, you got the chipper on that side. All said and done, town's gotta be clean. The next day, as long as all the roads are open, safe, we're good. As we go, we do the cleanup throughout the whole week. The trucks come by, they chipped all the brush. Everybody picked up everything they needed to do. We're fortunate enough to have Smithfield Pete, which is a company that takes all our debris away for us, and have them close by. So we were fortunate enough. But yeah, without a bump in the road, first thing when I saw the storm coming, and I'm like, look, you can see the line. When you see that line, you know that there's going to be strong winds coming. All the years of experience working with it, you know. It's just one of those things. It's like second nature.
I'll defer to the chairman for final questions from you.
Yeah, do you have any questions for us?
I do. As far as benefit-wise, I know the salary, what the salary rate was. In the benefit package, is that coming off the top of that salary? If so, how much of it is? Is there a percentage that comes off of that? I don't know. That was one of the questions that I had with my benefit package.
I believe you contribute 30% of the health insurance?
30,
No,
I think
but
it's
that's your
30%.
salary.
Your salary's your salary.
Okay. Yep, that was one of my questions. Our next question is, in my opinion, what is the most challenging job right now that this town has? Is there
Senior
anything
selectman.
that's really, really high on the to-do list that we're looking at, or is there something? Because I filled out an application a year ago for this position before I got my assistant position, because I was curious, because I put it out there, and I was like, I said to my wife, could you think of something and just go back on the date on that? And she pulled it up and she looked at it, and she said, almost a year ago. So I was just curious on that. Is there a reason, or somebody made the position and they didn't work out, or is there a lot on the table that I'm not aware of yet, or no?
No, if you applied the first time, Mr. Chair,
I think he's talking about Mr. Sullivan all the way back when Danny left.
yeah. But
And Vinnie ended up being
Yeah, we
interested,
promoted
who
from
was
within. We
he was
promoted
promoted
to
from foreman, so it didn't go to the outside.
Okay. I was just
Yeah.
curious on it, because I said, boy, it's a long wait for now. If somebody was waiting, I'm not waiting for a position, but if the position came, I jump at it. It's to move up that ladder.
I think the biggest challenge, and Mr. Ruda can speak to it probably better, is financial. I mean, we don't have, I don't know how much research you did on the town. I know you said a family member lives here. We don't have a lot of extra money for a lot of extra stuff. I mean, we try to fully fund requests, but this was a tough year with COVID, and we've all been selectmen for a number of years, and some years you don't get everything you want. And somehow you gotta
Finagle it.
make that square peg still get in that square hole, you know? So my opinion, that's our biggest issue. And Highway Department, as we said, does everything except water and sewer, so you gotta figure out how to make it work, how to
So
make it.
the superintendent would actually be the person prioritizing the jobs. The selectmen are highway commissioners, but they act on the recommendation of the subject matter expert, which would be the superintendent. So if Vinnie Paletta, our current superintendent, were here, I would, as the town administrator, I would ask Vinnie what the priorities are.
Correct.
And see how it fits in with the public policy of the highway commissioners.
Right.
It's a tight ship, it's a tight fiscal ship, that's the.
Yeah, it's tight for everybody because it's a lack of funding throughout the government right now. They're not shipping that money out.
Right.
That's a key thing. I mean, if you're moving along right now at this point and you don't see any issues unless there's a wall somewhere that you're gonna hit, but if you're moving right now, you're moving along, you're doing good. I feel the same thing about our town. There's some towns and cities that aren't doing so good. And unfortunately, it's not mine. You know, I don't go out spending money unless we have to. Safety is a key issue in the town. Vests, they have to wear boots, they have to wear pants. I don't know if you have that issue with your men and women for the town. It's only because it's a safety issue. It's not because we want them to be hot in the summertime. It's because it's safety. You know, you don't want hot asphalt going down in your boot in the middle of summertime because the town is not responsible to pay that so-called workman's comp thing and pay off. You're getting SCAR money and this and that because he wasn't properly dressed, you know, under the policy and procedures of the town. But other than that,
No other questions for us?
I have no other questions other than, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you,
for
sir.
your time.
Thank you
Coming
very
from,
much.
coming from Lincoln, and I have to, just a quick side note that when I first read your resume, you know, my dad worked for the Wilmington, Mass. Highway Department for 37 years, and he climbed the ladder, and his last job before he retired was assistant superintendent. So
Okay.
it can be done, and, you know, that's why I asked you the question about, you know,
Right.
one of them, and then, you know, that transition.
Yeah, you don't know unless you've been there and you've done it. I've done it all. I explained to them guys, and them guys, all my coworkers know it, my bosses know it. And once in a while, you know, you sit down, you reminisce, you talk to other people and you say, you know, back in when I did that, you know, it wasn't so bad and it was this, but now forget it. And now it's the biggest thing in town is the recycling thing. They've got these 96-gallon recycling totes every other week.
Did you Google that too here?
You have a recycling center in Lincoln?
We have
Manage it?
we have waste management in the town of Lincoln.
Okay.
We just went through, going from the little buckets to the 96-gallon every other week.
Yeah,
And
we have
it's
one of
going,
those
it's going
here.
fine. People are on it. For the older folks, we got the 64-gallon totes, and they do them every other week.
Jeez.
So,
Yeah, we just did that this year. We just changed our model as well, but we have a town-owned, we own the recycling center. We contract somebody out to cart it away. So that's interesting to me that you've done that there.
yeah, and as far as that goes, that's about it. I mean, the town's come a long way. They haven't done, there's still regular trash, but other than that, we have our own trash trucks. We don't put that out.
It's Lincoln, Rhode Island's
We
own
own our
truck?
trash trucks, correct, yes. We've owned them. And it works out for the because sometimes you have an issue, you have trees down, you have significant amount of brush all over the place. We cut them up to the 4-foot, 5-foot, 6-foot lengths because it'll take up to an 8-foot size branch. You get the loader, you put the forks on the loader, go to the side of the road, pick it up, dump it in the truck, cycle it up. You get a lot of brush in that truck, let me tell you. It comes out in a queue. And that's just not the rubbish. I mean, That works out
Construction
with the,
waste and
with the
yard
brush as
waste
well,
and-
like I
yep.
said, and the leaves, the bags of leaves. So our town does their leaves. I think your town just burns them, or they get rid of them themselves, or they bring them to the site themselves. Drop
What
off
do we do
center,
with our leaves after people bring
On
them?
the pile.
We spin them around and compost.
compost them.
I think one of the
Yeah,
files.
so that's what our town also,
That's right, I've heard that.
$35 a year for a sticker.
Yard waste only.
I go right in the front of my truck. I'll tell you, if you leave 4 or 5 foot links on the side of the road, you won't be coming back with the truck. They'll be gone the next time somebody goes by.
Yep.
That's true.
There's your recycling right there.
so
Hey,
thank you very
Russell.
much, folks, for your interview.
Thank you very much.
Russ,
Pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Russell.
Nice to meet you.
You guys have a great night, and ma'am, you also, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Good night, everyone.
Everybody, good night.